Manhattan alongside the world #1 Scotty Scheffler. But here's the familiar figure of Rory McIlroy, feet astride, standing over his opening tee shot at the 2025 Masters. Gives that an absolute clatter, and I think he likes it. The patrons certainly do. You can hear the applause and the cheers, and the ball lands safely. It has gone absolutely miles down this first fairway. So many of those drives have been out on the golf course today. You see landing sort of on the brow of that hill or slightly shorter. He's knocked that about 20 yards past the bunker, right down the middle of the fairway. That is a perfect start to this year's Masters for Rory McIlroy. Lots and lots of people, golf fans, hoping this, Claire, could finally be his year. That could not have got off to a better start.
It sounded like such a crisp, clean hit. Alistair, thank you so much. Back with Ali Bruce Ball and our team as the first round carries on. And you can hear commentary from the first round from 8 o'clock this evening on 5 Sports Extra and on BBC Sounds. And we'll keep you up to date with all that's going on here on 5 Live as well. Let's just return briefly to our top story, tariffs. The tariff standoff that's going on at the moment between President Trump and the rest of the world. Let's be honest. Let's speak to Linda Yu, economist at Oxford University and London Business School. Good evening, Linda.
Hi, good evening.
So much moves on. Trump actually said, okay, let's have a pause for 90 days, and the EU has reciprocated with a pause. How has this been reflected in the markets? Are they buying that this is a kind of stable period for a while?
I don't think they necessarily are. I think they're hopeful. So if you look at what's happened, for instance, in the FTSE 100, or if you look over at what's happened on the German DAX, the Euro stock, various European indices, I think there is a sense that, we might be okay for 3 months. They've recouped some of the losses that they had last week, because there was a dramatic drop, you might recall, after the tariffs were first announced. But I think if you look at what's happened in U.S. markets, this is why I think it's still fairly uncertain. U.S. markets are a little tentative. They recovered a lot yesterday because obviously the announcement made by President Trump hit the U.S. trading first. But I think they're a little bit in a wait and see because if you can change your mind on something within a week, is this truce really going to last for 90 days?
Yeah, now let's go back to basics, because it seemed as if somebody sat down President Trump, and the rumor has it was the Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, and also another cabinet member, Scott Bessent, who said, it's the bonds. The issue is you're wrecking the bond market. So explain to our listeners what the bond market is and why is that so important?
So the bond market is the market for pricing government debt. So the U.S., like us and other countries, all borrow money to fund their spending. So there's a budget deficit. That means the government spends more than it takes in taxes. So that means it has to go borrow the money, and it borrows it from creditors who buy government bonds, and that's why it's called the bond market. So the two people you're referring to, the Commerce Secretary as well as Scott Bessent, who's the Treasury Secretary, they both come from private sector backgrounds. In other words, hedge funds, financial sector. So reports are they went to the president and said, you're really spooking creditors. They think that these tariffs are going to dampen growth. They're going to bring inflation back to the U.S., and they're asking for higher interest rates to lend to American businesses, American families, as well as to the American government. Now, remember, President Trump is a real estate developer, as well as a reality TV star. But as a real estate developer, he's really sensitive to the price of debt, the cost of borrowing. And that's reportedly what made him do the pivot, about turn, the post on Truth Social. I don't really know how to describe it.
Well, so basically,
posted.
So what happened? The trust had gone. The trust from the people who were doing the lending in the market had gone. Interest rates were going to rise. People were going to feel poorer. This is the exact opposite of his policy to make America great again, to bring back manufacturing, to make people feel wealthier, surely.
Yeah, so when he announced the tariffs, he said it was to make America wealthy again. So I think the question was always, with the stock market plummeting and people becoming nervous about inflation, there were a lot of signs that maybe over the longer term, the tariffs would achieve what he says he wants, which is to make trade fair again. But in the short term, with all the retaliation, and it's not clear how quickly you can make trade fair again, because a big part of that is getting companies to relocate to the United States. That's not going to happen very quickly. So I think there was a lot of concern in financial markets. The U.S. is going to go into this period of slower growth, higher inflation, and that's what's reflected in all the markets, including the bond market. So I think what convinced him, I suppose, is that this is going to hit the very voters that he was hoping to help. And we know that in his first administration, if you hit the voters, which then like him a bit less, his popularity may suffer, he will just change course. And I think that's what makes it so volatile.
And the standoff between China certainly is not backing down. There was a brilliant China analyst on with Nikki Campbell earlier today on 5 Live who said, yeah, it was so interesting sort of getting an insight into the culture, because, you know, one of the worst things you can be in that culture is boastful. And Trump is the, you know, it's like he kind of embodies that, and he's saying, this is what I've done, and all these people are going to come back because I've done all these great things, and they're all going to be kissing my you-know-what, and they have been. And China have been like, well, no, we haven't, and every time you raise your game or raise your tariff target, we'll do exactly the same. Where does this all end, do you think, Linda?
Oh, dear. So there's a quote by the great economist J.K. Galbraith. The sole function of economic forecasting is to make astrology look respectable. So in this context, it's even worse, because that's just about normal forecast. You know, where does this end? So I think there's a bit of translating what the tariffs mean in real terms. If you put 100% tax on a product, you've actually doubled the price of the product. So it's possible to triple the price, but at some point there's a real economic damage to your country, and your popularity will be dented. And that's true for both the US and China. So they could continue this tit for tat, but I think both countries and their leaders are actually pretty pragmatic when it comes to economic decisions. I know that's hard to see right now with the United States, but I think the constraint is, you know, if it's going to become so economically damaging, the politicians, at the end of the day, I think they're all quite similar. They all want to be liked. So I suspect we will see a ratcheting down, but I don't know when. I don't know how much damage will be inflicted in the meanwhile, because at the moment, the U.S. is not backing down, China is not backing down, and in America, the Democrats and the Republicans, who don't agree on much, but they agree on one thing, which is the U.S. needs to compete and win against China. So I'm afraid this may drag on for some time.
Great to have you on as ever, Linda. Thank you so much for joining us. Linda Yu, there, economist at Oxford University and London Business School, 6:20.
Yes, and you're listening to 5 Live Drive. Still to come on the programme. We've heard from a Manchester United fan earlier. We've heard from a Spurs podcaster as well. So that leaves Rangers to complete our Europa League hat-trick. They're all in quarter-final first leg action tonight, so we'll speak to a Rangers fan in just a minute. Meanwhile, actually, I've just noticed something which has happened in about the last hour, or that we've started reporting on the BBC Sport website in the last hour, that Eric Cantona has said the club, Manchester United that is being destroyed under the co-ownership of Sir Jim Ratcliffe, which is interesting, isn't it? He was speaking at an event at non-league FC United, which was the club which was founded by disgruntled Manchester United fans in the wake of the Glazer takeover. And Cantona said, since Ratcliffe arrived, this team of directors tried to destroy everything. They don't respect anybody. I feel sad to see United in this kind of situation. They decided something else. They have another strategy, another project. I support United because I really love United. But now if I was a fan and I had to choose a club, I don't think I would choose United. He goes on to say a lot more. So if you want to see more of that, then BBC Sport website is where to go. Yeah, interesting.
That's quite something from him, isn't it, really?
It is. On that note, full commentary of Lyon versus Manchester United here on 5 Live. A bit later, regular updates from the rest, plus Chelsea's Europa Conference quarter-final away to Legia Warsaw. It's already underway, actually, and it's currently 0-0.
And Pulp are back after 24 years. We've heard their new single, but we've since had this text from Dave in Sale. Evening, Dave. Dave says this: Pulp coming back is fantastic, but I must encourage all of your listeners to listen to the Man from Del Monte, who are reuniting at the Manchester Academy 2 on Saturday. They played their first gig for 34 years. Never mind your Pulp, 24 years. First gig in 34 years in February. It's going to be mega. So let's hear a little bit of the Man from Del Monte. Is that them now or 34 years ago?
No, jaunty though, isn't it?
Jaunty, Dave in Sale. Don't say we don't listen. We couldn't get Jarvis Cocker on at such short notice, but we are hoping that we can get the Man from Del Monte on before 7.
After 34 years, flipping heck. Actually, from a Dave to a David in Welwyn Garden City, another who saw Pulp at Glastonbury in '95 when they replaced the Stone Roses as headliners. We had a listener earlier saying this was the moment.
Yeah, broke
yeah,
them.
David says, I wasn't a fan before, but certainly was afterwards, and that was largely because of Jarvis's showmanship. When he came out, he saluted the crowd, then took a photo of us on a disposable camera. What a legend.
You know what? You've got to go and watch that, and you probably can on YouTube, because it's incredible. You know, people are like, this is your moment, step up. Boy, did they. Keep the text coming in as well, some very good ones, or things that you've overheard at gigs, theatres, those little comments that made you do a double take. 85058.
BBC Radio 5 Live.
The voice of the UK.
They've got no choice. They just want to be part of something.
I was worried about what that might do for me and my career.
It's the best thing I ever did.
5 Live Drive.
With Claire McDonald and Chris Warburton.
Now, Rangers, Manchester United, Spurs, as I was saying, all in Europa League quarter-final action tonight, so it's a busy old evening on 5 Live. 5 Live Sport has got commentary of the Manchester United match at Lyon. Rangers hosting Atletico Bilbao at Ibrox, hoping to end what has been a dismal run of 5 consecutive home defeats. The manager has addressed that with the players, according to defender Leon Balogun.
I think it was just a very straightforward and honest conversation which needed to be held. I mean, if you lose 5 on the spin at Ibrox, it's not something you should be able to accept. So yeah, it was very open, no filter, but with a very positive outcome in the end.
Well, it speaks to Rangers fan Marina Ballantyne from the Heart and Hand podcast, who will be at the match. Hello, Marina.
Hello.
Hi. Losing 5 on the spin at Ibrox. When was the last time that happened before this?
I don't remember it, certainly not in my lifetime. I
No.
don't think it's, yeah.
I mean, that is just not acceptable at Rangers, is it?
No, definitely. There is an expectation at Rangers that we win all our games, and obviously that doesn't always happen, but we certainly shouldn't be losing 5 in a row at home, especially at home.
No, this is it. So what does that mean in terms of how people feel going into what is an absolutely crucial match tonight?
I know it's sort of mixed feelings, but I'm sure I think it's all behind us for today anyway, and we're just focusing on tonight, and I'm sure like the fans will be fully behind whoever Barry feels sorry. So yeah, mixed emotions.
So, but is that what you think? Basically, most of the fans will just be like, all right, well that's domestic form. Europe, big night in Europe, that's something different. Let's just go back to the start, essentially.
I think for tonight, yes. Obviously, we can't forget about it. We're not forgetting about it. But it's the main focus for today and tonight, and next week, of course.
I mean, there's some question marks hanging over Jack Butland, isn't there, between the sticks? I think. What would you do if you were Barry Ferguson? Would you stick with him because it's such a big game and he's got that experience, or do you change things up because he's just been a bit dodgy?
It's so risky in such a big game. He has cost. I hate to blame goalkeepers.
Yeah.
But he has cost us a lot of silly goals. Not even just this season. So, and we really can't afford that tonight. I'm sure. Yeah, we definitely can't afford to do that tonight. That said, he was a hero against Fenerbahce with his penalty saves. He has made some amazing saves as well. He does have it in him. It's so strange. I don't know if it's psychological or what's going on, because the goals that he lets in are sort of like your bread and butter saves. So it's a big risk. And if maybe if Kelly had more game time this season, I'd be more inclined. But I know a lot of fans.
Oh, you still there? Oh, Marina. I know a lot of fans. I know quite a lot of fans.
Can you hear me?
Okay, got you now. Yeah, we got you. Sorry, we lost you at I know a lot of fans.
I know a lot of fans. I'm not bragging, yeah.
Yeah, no loads. It's got a bit trumpy there, but yeah. Well, it's a bit unfortunate for the keepers though, isn't it? Because there he is getting all that, a bit of question marks, and we had a Nana being told by Matic that he's the worst goalkeeper that Manchester United's ever had. But anyway, don't worry about that. In terms of who you're up against, I mean, they're no slouches, are they? Bilbao, when you look at it, 4th in La Liga at the moment. They beat Roma across 2 legs in the previous round. This is not going to be that straightforward.
No, this is a big game. This is a great team, but this is what we're in it for. This is what we want. I was in the city centre on my lunch break today and see all the Bilbao fans in the town, and it was so nice to see. So it is what we want. We want to rise to the occasion. We want to play the big teams. It's not going to be easy, and I don't think anyone's under that impression. So yeah, but I think we do. Whether I agree with it or not, we certainly have been raising our games, raising our performance against the bigger teams. So. Yeah.
You're going to go to the second leg? You off to Bilbao?
Yes, I'm really looking forward to it.
That'll be sweet, won't it?
Yeah, a beautiful stadium as well, so definitely looking forward to maybe not, depending on the score tonight.
Well, that's it. You'll have a good time either way, won't you? Anyway, thank you, Marina. Marina, I know a lot of fans, Bannatyne. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was Marina from the Heart and Hand podcast. Yeah.
There she is. There she goes. I just want to drop this in from Martin Chorley, not Matt Chorley, Martin Chorley. We were talking about golf earlier because obviously the Masters first round gets underway. Updates on the way, live commentary actually from 8 o'clock, 5 Sports Extra. And Matt says this, we were talking about Bernard Langer, his last Masters, has looked after himself, he's 67. It's one of those sports that you can play till, I don't know, your 90s. Well, here's a great example. My granddad finished playing golf 3 years ago after injuring his knee at 94. He was still playing 18 holes 2 or 3 times a week and carrying his bag. He carried his bag, Chris, for the full 18 at 94, which is probably why he was still playing golf at 94. I played my last round with him, says Matt, with him aged 94 and me 30. We joined in with a guy in front of us, and my granddad told a story about his national service in 1946, and I could see the guy's head going 100 miles an hour trying to work out how old he was. He said, I think you're the oldest person I've ever played golf with. My granddad, Peter Burgeon, still plays bowls now because he's done his knee and he can't do the golf.
Right.
And he's 97.
That is pretty impressive.
Peter Burgeon, Matt's granddad, we salute you.
We doff our golf cap.
Yeah.
Or bowls cap.
Oh, yes. You would wear one of those now, wouldn't you? Slightly different, but still a cap. You're listening to 5 Live Drive. Let's get the news headlines. It's 6:30.
The voice of the UK.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Donald Trump has acknowledged that a period of difficult transition is inevitable as his trade policies continue to cause upheaval on international stock markets. But he's told a cabinet meeting that investors are happy and the US is taking $2 billion more in import taxes each day. The government department, run by one of Sir Keir Starmer's most senior ministers, is cutting nearly a third of its staff. Around 1,200 people will be made redundant at the Cabinet Office, with another 900 being transferred to other departments. Talks between government officials and the Chinese owners of British Steel are expected to continue into tomorrow. The BBC has been told the government has offered to buy the coking coal that keeps steel production going in Scunthorpe. And as we've been hearing, Pulp have announced their first new album for 24 years. It's called More. It'll be released in June, and it's dedicated to the band's late bass player, Steve Mackey. Let's get the sport now. Here's Molly.
Thank you very much, Claire. We'll start by heading to Augusta, round 1 of the 89th Masters. Our golf correspondent Ian Carter is there. How does the leaderboard look, Ian, and how is Rory McIlroy looking in his early stages?
It's looking very enticing as I sit here at Amen Corner overlooking the tee shot on the shortest hole on the course, the par 3 12th. I can see The defending champion Scotty Scheffler sizing up the tee shot that's going to come as he stands in a share of the lead at 3 under par with Tyrrell Hatton and Justin Rose. So 2 Englishmen sharing the lead. Laurie Canter going nicely as well, 2 under par as he plays the 9th. Stephen Jaeger of Germany did get to 4 under. He's dropped 3 shots though. He's back to 1 under par. And Rory McIlroy, after that imperious tee shot on the first, he has made his par there and is making his way down the par 5 second at level.
Ian, thank you as ever. There'll be commentary on Sports Extra from 8 o'clock this evening, and there's a live page following all the action at Augusta on the BBC Sport website. There is growing expectation at Liverpool that captain Virgil van Dijk will join forward Mohamed Salah in signing a new contract in the not too distant future. Both players are said to be extremely close to signing 2-year contracts. A busy night of football to come in 5 Live Sport. Crucial matches for Manchester United, Tottenham and Rangers in their Europa League quarter-final first legs. Let's start by heading to Lyon. Conor McNamara is bringing you commentary of their match against United.
Yes, the Europa League, the only remaining chance of Ruben Amorim collecting some silverware in his opening campaign in charge. Lyon have won 6 of the last 7 games in all competitions. They beat Lille on Saturday, a win that keeps them in the mix for Champions League place for next season. And while Manchester United have struggled to find a standout goal scorer this campaign, tonight they may come up against an old foe. The former Arsenal striker Alexander Lacazette has been Lyon's top scorer this season. It's a beautiful evening in eastern France. It is warm, it is bright. This Groupama Stadium is a wonderful arena. It's a fitting venue for Manchester United's last shot at glory this season.
Conor, thank you. We'll keep you across the latest too from the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium where Spurs take on Eintracht Frankfurt. Henry Moran is there.
Being Tottenham's biggest game so far this season, certainly for under-pressure manager Ange Postecoglou. Sunday's win here against Southampton, a first league victory in 5. They've saved much of their best form for Europe. In fact, Spurs unbeaten here in 18 games in European football. We'll get team news soon. Expect the strongest side available to Postecoglou. What about Frankfurt? Well, they're 3rd in the Bundesliga. They won this competition in 2022. They also thrashed Ajax in the last round, so they'll be tough opponents. I've just walked up Tottenham High Road alongside thousands of fans from Germany. It promises to be some night in North London.
Look forward to listening to the atmosphere. Thank you, Henry. Also vying for a place in the semi-finals, Rangers, who host Athletic Bilbao. Ailey Barber can bring us the latest.
A huge night for Rangers in what has been a turbulent season domestically, but it is in Europe that they have found their best form, and they will need it tonight against one of the Europa League favourites, a star-studded Atletico Bilbao. Rangers come into this one on the back of 5 consecutive home defeats, and after their most recent on Saturday, interim manager Barry Ferguson hinted at sweeping changes, so we await the team lines with interest. Rangers, they have produced special European nights. Just 3 years ago, it took them all the way to the final. The 50,000 plus Rangers fans making their way here tonight will be hoping for another.
Yes, the team news will be available for you on the BBC Sport website, of course, in 5 Live Sport, then from 7 o'clock. And that's not all. Chelsea already in action this evening. Conference League quarter-final first leg away to Legia. Half-time in Poland, Chris Coles.
And it is 0-0, Molly. Chelsea have dominated possession, 72% of the ball they've seen, but it's been a story of their last few months. They've not done a great deal with it. Just 2 half chances to describe. Dewsbury Hall, a curling shot from the edge of the area, well saved by Tobias in the Legia goal, and then a toss-in header nearly turned home by Nkunku 3 or 4 yards out, but not much to show for Chelsea's dominance. Half-time in Poland, Legia Warsaw 0, Chelsea 0.
So a busy night across 5 Live and Sports Extra with the latest from the golf and the football. For an update anytime, ask your smart speaker to play BBC Sports News.
You can get an update of that. You can get an update on the travel right now.
You wish you'd never asked. It's getting busier again though. M80, so Falkirk on the southbound side, stop-start traffic at junction 7 at the Hags. The M65, I'm just hearing about an accident. It's been confirmed now as well. Junction 8 at Accrington is actually near Padiham, and it's the Hapton interchange. Junction 8, the M65 eastbound, 1 lane closed for an accident, but delays on all approaches. The M6 in Cheshire and heading south 20 to 19 at Knutsford, that accident's still there, 1 lane closed, queuing traffic. The M60 clockwise, 5 at the Princess Parkway, an accident in one of the lanes clockwise. The M25 clockwise, junction 6 at Godstone, everything at a stand now. That's because of an accident. The M25 again, and anti-clockwise queues from 14 round to Chertsey, junction 11. That's where all the traffic was held back to clear the accident. Severe delays remain. Anti-clockwise queues at the Dartford Tunnel still there as well, taking a half an hour. M5 Somerset queues 20 at Clevedon. That's a breakdown heading north towards 19 at Portishead near Bristol. The A11 is still closed in Norfolk southbound between Larling and Thetford. A vehicle overturned, and big problems on the train still. Bristol services. So it's Bristol Parkway to and from Gloucester, Swindon and Cheltenham Spa, but also we've had cross-country problems as well as GWR problems. At 90 minutes, they're saying now it's all to do with a points failure. I would just check any journeys out at all if you're travelling anywhere through Bristol. Orna Merchant, 5 Live Travel.
Previously at the Masters.
Scheffler tastes Masters success for the second time. He punches the air.
Who will wear the coveted green jacket?
Global sport has a new superstar. Everyone's standing, roaring around the 18th green.
The Masters 2025, live from Augusta National.
So many magical moments on this most magical of majors.
Tonight from 8.
On 5 Sports Extra.
Listen on BBC Sounds.
BBC Radio 5 Live. This is the voice of the UK. 5 Live Drive.
With Claire McDonald and Chris Warburton. Listen on BBC Sounds.
Thanks so much for joining us. 21 minutes to 7. Now, this sounds like something straight out of a science fiction novel. A composer still making music 4 years after his death, and all thanks to an artificial brain. US composer Alvin Lucifer was a pioneer of experimental music. He died in 2021, but a team of artists and scientists have used cutting-edge neuroscience to create a lab-grown proto-brain of the late musician. The Art Gallery of Western Australia is currently showing the music at an exhibition. How on earth does this work? Let's talk to Matthew Lovett, who's head of the School of Music and Performing Arts at Bath Spa University. Good evening.
Hiya, Claire, you all right?
I'm all right, but my tiny brain is struggling to understand how this might work. Should we just paint a picture of this artist first of all, because he was pretty groundbreaking when he was alive, and when he was alive, I understand he used brainwaves to generate live sound.
He did, yeah. So Alvin Lucier is a bit of a god really in the world of experimental music in the 20th century. So yeah, the piece you're talking about was called Music for Solo Performer that he did in the 60s. So he was really pioneering use of electrodes to read his brain waves that were then turned into signals that were used to control percussion instruments for that piece. But his whole career was full of just making these amazing pieces of music. There were ways of exploring just the world around us and using sound as a way to understand the physical properties of ourselves and our world, really. It's an amazing guy.
And it wasn't until 2020, I'm reading, he was 89 and he was suffering from Parkinson's disease, that he agreed to donate his blood for this specific performance that we're seeing now?
Yeah, so what had happened is that the team that put this project together, so they've really been working in this kind of area of biological art in a way for a few years, and they've been, the artist, this chap called Guy Benarai, had been working with this project about harvesting stem cells, converting that into these little things called brain organoids that are kind of collections of brain cells in petri dishes. And he'd been looking at how this could be used to control music. And I think just because he was interested in Alvin Lucier's work, he got in touch with Alvin Lucier and said, hey, we'd like to do a project with you. And Alvin Lucier had agreed to donate his blood and be part of the project. And they kept working together right up until his death, really. And then Alvin Lucier basically gave permission for the artist to keep working on the project. And that's what we're seeing in this revivification project that we're talking about now, basically.
It's just incredible. So his blood, the white blood cells in his blood were, I understand it, reprogrammed into stem cells. And then what happened after that?
Yeah, so you're talking to a musician rather than a neurologist or biologist, so I'm gonna have to give you my kind of rough version bit, but basically there's a process that they used to adapt and grow those stem cells into these things that are called, like I said, they're called brain organoids. Now, a little bit of biology, I suppose. What we can understand is that brain organoids are used in science as a means to understand some brain function, basically. So it doesn't replicate brain function, but it gives a bit of an indication about how brains work. And just in the same way that in our brains we throw around electrical signals, these brain organoids can also throw around electrical signals. So they've grown this thing out of Alvin Lucia's stem cells. They've actually grown it on electrodes, so they're able to pass current through the brain organoids, and they can take the current out, and they can then turn that into signals that can be fed into a computer and adapted to basically control sound and control musical instruments. But also, and this is the really clever bit, they can feed sound into those electrodes on the organoids and affect how the organoids are moving signals around. So it's a kind of interactive process of sound being fed into them and then information coming out to be used to control sound as well. It's a really, really ingenious system, actually.
So essentially, it's a sort of lab-grown mini-brain, and he can do posthumous composing. So let's give people another little listen to what this sounds like.
Right.
And there's a shift in tone there, Matthew, isn't there? So talk us through when you go, I mean, it's quite hard to convey, I guess, how atmospheric that must be when you go into the space.
Yeah.
And what you see. Can you talk us through it?
Yeah, so basically what you've got in the space is you've got these 20 large brass plates. So actually what we're hearing there is something similar to that. So they're going to be, if you can just picture large kind of gong-like instruments, basically. So they're going to be being hit with a little mallet in the way that we, again, we would hit a gong or, all sorts of percussion instruments. And they're connected to a little lever, basically, that's being controlled by the brainwaves. Again, just this really beautiful bit of technology that's running. So the signals that are coming off these organoids are being used to control when those mallets are hitting these brass plates. So that's roughly what we're hearing there. And as the organoid kind of interacts with itself, as those electrical signals pass across, that's going to have different kind of swells. So things are going to get louder and softer. But the clever bit, like I said, is where the sounds from the gallery space are being fed back in. So if people are walking around and they're talking, or or coughing, or whatever is happening, or doors are opening and shutting, all of those sounds are being fed back in to create a response in the organoid. So it's quite a live piece, really, that it's picking up things that are around it. So the idea with the piece is that it's kind of some sense of Alvin Lucia's kind of brain state still in action, really. So it's a really kind of fascinating kind of meditation almost about what's it like beyond death, still being a musician and still being responsive to what's around us.
Honestly, you have warped my mind with all of this. It's quite something to get your head around while you're alive. Does it raise any other questions? We talk about AI, we talk about authorship and all of that.
Yeah.
Because this is just the start of it, and people might be listening to this and thinking, so what's that? But it shows how far science can go and step into the creative sphere. What are your thoughts?
So I think this is really fascinating. So the whole idea with this piece, it's lovely, they call it a neural network, which it technically is, which is also the term that we use to describe how AI systems work in terms of building neural networks. And actually what the artists are doing with the revivification project is almost kind of going down an analog route. They call it wetalog. So they're very, they're very adamant that this is a kind of non-AI experiment and exploration of life and death and sound, basically. But what's interesting, if we think about like what you're saying, Claire, about copyright, we've had all these hologram projects over the past few years, haven't we? Things like Tupac famously with with the kind of reanimated Tupac, and it does bring up questions about ownership after death. So I guess what will be happening here, obviously, Lucia gave his permission for his blood to be used, and no doubt his family or the people that own the rights to his work would be involved in this. So there'll be a whole set of permissions around how his legacy and how his his music and his input into this piece is being used. But I think there's a really fascinating question around how we move into this space, because this is, like I was saying with holograms, this is one of a number of pieces now that we've got various types of technology that can allow us to still keep building new music, all sorts of new material from either the very real, literally, the stem cells of a dead composer, or the digital likenesses of composers and media stars, really. So yeah, how we think about copyright is really changing, and no doubt a piece like this is going to set a really interesting precedent in terms of how we think about copyright ownership.
It's kicked off a whole new conversation. Thank you so much for talking us through it so expertly. Thank you for joining us.
Great to be here. Thanks. Cheers.
Dr. Matthew Levitt, head of the School of Music and Performing Arts at Bath Spa University. I mean, when you think about it, Chris, that's a very avant-garde US composer, Alvin Lucia.
Yeah.
Imagine if that had been David Bowie's stem cells.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? It kind of takes you into the
100%.
territory where people go, that person can never die. They're not allowed to die. They can still carry on. It is fascinating, isn't it?
It is. It really is. And like you say, where's it all heading, Claire? I don't know. No, we don't.
I genuinely don't.
Well, we genuinely don't know where it's heading for Manchester United. They are in Europa League action tonight. We've been hearing about all of the ties. 3 British clubs in action tonight, all kicking off at 8 o'clock in their first leg ties of the Europa League's quarter-final time. We'll keep you updated through this evening on the action at Rangers versus Atletico Bilbao. We spoke to a fan a short time ago. Also Spurs against Eintracht Frankfurt, and our commentary comes from Lyon. Manchester United have travelled for their quarters first leg, and our summariser tonight is former England international Izzy Christiansen. Hello, Izzy.
Very good evening to you.
Yeah.
From sunny Lyon.
Well, what a great place to be. I bet Lyon's a magnificent city. I was walking in this morning to work, and I walked past a couple of lads, because the kids are on school holiday, aren't they? A couple of boys in Manchester United tops, and this bloke was walking towards us, and he went, United. He went, we're going to smash them tonight, aren't we, lads? And I thought, he feels a bit overly confident to me.
Well, it's interesting because we've been in the stadium for about an hour, and we've seen the players coming out onto the pitch. They do with the headphones on, they're having a little look at the grass, having a look at the goals. And obviously many people interested in this game are going to be familiar with the heat that's attached to the build-up to this game with Onana and Nemanja Matic, who now plays for Lyon. And Onana has done a little walk of the pitch. He's gone to both goals, and he went over to the left goal where we're sat, which is right in front of the Lyon Ultra fans, who have been in the stadium a good 20-30 minutes, making a lot of noise. That noise level was raised massively when Onana walked in front of them, nodded his head, and basically said to them, I'm ready for you tonight. So I think there's a lot in this match, and it's going to be a good one.
That has added a little bit of spice, hasn't it? Just for listeners who might not have seen this, it was Matic, basically. Onana had said, we're easily going to win, right? And then Matic got back and said, Onana's one of the worst goalkeepers in the club's history. And now he's got to the point where you've got, even the BBC Sport website, newspapers digging through the records and trying to work out if that's justified or actually a bit harsh.
I'm glad that's not my job.
Yeah, well, quite, me too.
But it certainly adds something to this game, along with, one of the things I was interested about when Manchester United's team sheet came out was who's going to play up front. Is it Højlund or Xerxes? It's going to be Højlund. And I just think it's going to be so interesting to see how Manchester United cope with Lyon tonight, because, I've played at Lyon, I've been in and around this stadium a lot, come and watch the men's team play, and the atmosphere on a European night is something. It is quite something, and obviously you put the backdrop of the sun that's setting over the top right in front of us. It's brilliant.
Oof. This is it. Radio's all about painting pictures with words. You're doing a great job of that,
It's Conor McNamara's job.
Oh yeah, well he's the master. He's the master. Now, Kobbie Mainoo, I was seeing, is back in the Manchester United squad, isn't he? I mean, where do you see his best position in the team, Izzy?
Well, it's great that he's back. If we see him enter the pitch tonight, that is a massive bonus for Ruben Amorim. Going into the season finale, and of course how this tie tonight tees up the second leg back in Manchester. Kobbie Mainoo, we know what a player he is, and he's still very young. We need to be mindful of that. But where I see him fitting in, Chris, he's in that central. We've spoken so much. I don't know how many times I've said 3-4-3 about Manchester United on Radio 5 Live, but he fits in that central midfield, or bang in the middle. which is an area which has struggled. You know, Manchester United have struggled with athleticism, and getting Toby Mainoo back on the grass, hopefully we see him tonight, will be massive for Manchester United.
Just sort of moving the ball a bit more quickly than perhaps they've been used to in that position, isn't it? And in terms of Amorim, I mean, look, he said it. He said in this season, winning something like this is massive for us for confidence. Then for the future next season, to play Champions League for our club is massive. The summer, the budget for the summer, everything, he said, is connected to that competition. I mean, that says it all, doesn't it, about how important tonight and the second leg's going to be.
Yeah, exactly, and I think, you know, it's interesting because, you know, the noise around Manchester United that seems to emerge all the time, in a more of a negative light. When you break it down, they've actually won 2 trophies in the past 2 seasons, and of course this tie tonight going into this competition is Manchester United's only opportunity to win silverware again this season. Can they win it? I definitely think they can, and for a new manager, you know, coming into the club in Ruben Amorim, to potentially win a trophy in your first season, you get instant buy-in from players. It helps recruitment in the summer, and it will significantly impact his ability to move this team forward and upwards in the Premier League as well. But I think it's crucial. How they manage the game tonight is crucial to tee it back up at Old Trafford next week.
It's interesting, isn't it? It's crucial for Manchester United. It's crucial for Spurs and for Ange. Feels pretty crucial for Rangers after they've lost 5 on the spin at home as well. That's why it's all teed up so beautifully for tonight, Izzy.
Well, that's football, you know. You train, you know, all the hours you put in, the work, the sacrifices you make. You know, you don't do it for fun games. You do it for games where there's a crunch attached to it, and this is certainly one of those for Manchester United tonight.
Enjoy it, Izzy.
Sounds
like it's going to be a cracker. Thanks very much indeed. Izzy Christiansen, our summariser tonight, former England international, of course. A reminder, full commentary of Lyon versus Manchester United is going to be on 5 Live Sport with Izzy and Connor, and all the build-up begins after we finish in about 6 minutes' time.
I have driven through Lyon. It is beautiful. I wish I'd stopped.
Was it on the ring road?
No, it was through the road.
Oh, you went through the city?
Absolutely stunning. Anyway, I digress. Chelsea have scored. Chris Coles. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Claire. They have. Yes, Legia Warsaw 0, Chelsea 1. After dominating the first half but not creating much, it's only taken them 5 minutes of the second half to find the breakthrough, and it's young Tyreek George, 19 years of age, with a tap-in. Reece James, effort from distance, parried by the goalkeeper, and George on hand to tap into an empty net. So that'll settle Chelsea down. They lead this Conference League quarter-final first leg in Poland by 1-0 over Legia, with 5 minutes of the second half played.
Chris, thanks very much indeed. Update on the BBC Sport website. Now, we've spent the last 3 hours talking about how the 90s band Pulp are releasing a new album, their first in 24 years. It's called More. We couldn't get Jarvis Cocker on the programme. I don't even know whether we tried.
Did we ask?
Did we ask him? Are you listening, Jarvis? We were alerted to another band who are returning thanks to our listener, Dave in Sale. Dave said, Pulp coming back, fantastic, but I must encourage all of your listeners to listen to the man from Del Monte, who are reunited at the Academy 2 on Saturday. 34 years between their last and first gig in February. It's going to be mega. We've done some digging. We've made contact with the man from Del Monte. We will speak to the band's frontman, Mike West, in just a moment, but let's hear some of the band first. One of Manchester's best kept secrets, the man from Del Monte, back after 34 years. That single, My Love Is a Gift You Can't Return. Mike West joins us now, just fresh out rehearsals. Mike, hello.
Hello,
I'm very, very well. Listen, you've got some very loyal fans. They got in touch with the programme. They said, never mind Pulp. What about never mind about them. What about...
It's all very surprising, yeah.
Why now? Why back after 34 years? What's the story?
It's certainly something I never thought would do or would happen, but it has, and it was not the band that did it. It was essentially some fans reached out. Well, to be honest with you, I have 2 kids. They are in an extraordinary band called the Mud Club with 2 Ds, Mud Club 2 Ds, and they took this weird interest in the indie band I was in when I was 22, and they began digging around, and they lit some fires, and they began looking for my old records, which I had none of, and then they found these, kind of obscure fan pages, and then they just started, this interest started sparking up, and then this very kind man called Ian Lee reached out and asked me and each member of the band if we'd consider reuniting for a one-off gig. And for me personally, because my kids, I thought they'd find it fun. They're in a punk pop band, they put out records, it'd be fun if their old man did this, and I thought, hell, why not? We're all old enough, it's whimsical, it feels like foolish, Like I'm 61 years old, I'm the youngest member of the band,
Okay.
Okay, so just to put it in perspective here.
Yeah. Is everybody still around, Mike? Have you got the original lineup back together?
Yeah, it's all of this as we originally met in 1986, whenever we first got together. It's all the original ones, and we're all exactly the same people. We haven't changed at all. It's bizarre. And we got together, and Ian Lee set up a show for us. I thought it was much too big a venue. This is a couple months ago. It was the Band on the Wall in Manchester, which was a 500 capacity hall, and it sold out in 10 minutes, which none of us expected.
Wow,
and so, on Saturday we're playing a sold-out show at the Manchester Academy, and it's bizarre to me because it's 35 years ago since we sold it out.
Yeah, that's a pretty big space, Academy too. I've been there a whole bunch of times. Yeah, that's decent.
But it's very touching. It's moving. It's people that were high school kids that used to come to our shows back then in Manchester and all over, and it's their heart and their enthusiasm that's made this happen, and it's quite touching.
Can I just ask you, Mike, before you go, we've only got about a minute before the end of the programme, but for your kids who you've talked about so well there, how did you explain the name of the band? Because, we all know, to explain that is,
meant nothing to them. They looked it up, and they saw these rather sinister adverts of the guy in the scary hat.
Yeah,
it's a weird thing.
That was a different time and place, wasn't it?
Yes, no, I'm glad we're past some of that.
Exactly.
And Mike, I think I just looked up your kids' band, the Mud Club.
Is it with 2 Ds?
2 Ds. They look very cool, and I think I'm just watching you on stage with them at some point.
They're amazing.
Oh my word, that's so cool. You're playing with your kids. Listen, good luck with the gig and have a blast. Everyone is going along.
Thank you so much. All right.
Cheers, Mike.
The man from Demonte, he says,
go to the gig.
Go to the gig. No, don't actually. It's sold out. O2 in Manchester on Saturday. Stick around. Football's on the way.
Voice of the UK.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
BBC News at 7 o'clock. This is Anthony Birchley. Shares listed in the US have fallen again, a day after making significant gains in response to President Trump's decision to pause most of his import tariff increases, except those directed at China. The 3 main indices in New York are down between 4 and 6%. Analysts say investors are concerned that economic growth could be harmed by a trade war between the US and China and import taxes against other countries that haven't been paused. But speaking at a public meeting of Mr. Trump's cabinet, his Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said countries were prepared to make deals with the US.
They have come with offers that they never, ever, ever would have come with, but for the moves that the president has made, demanding that people treat the United States with respect. We're getting the respect we deserve now, and I think you're going to see us start deals one after the other.
China has said it will reduce the number of American films it allows to be shown because of President Trump's tariffs. Beijing said the import taxes had dampened appetite for American movies. BBC News has been told that talks between government officials and the Chinese owners of the British steel plant in Scunthorpe may continue tomorrow to try to save the troubled company. The government has offered to buy the coking coal that's essential to keep production going. The GMB union says it's exceptionally concerned that the offer has not been snapped up. Colin Todd is from the union.
They need to have an agreement with the government to ensure raw materials are bought, to ensure that blast furnaces are running, so then we can buy us a bit of time so we can decide what's going to happen with the future of British steel at Scunthorpe. If we don't have the fuel to burning the furnaces, then the furnaces will go cold and we won't be able to get them going again.
6 activists from the environmental group Greenpeace have been arrested after red dye was poured into a water feature outside the US Embassy in London. It's part of protest against American sales of arms to Israel. Those arrested include a co-executive director of Greenpeace UK, Will McCallum. Pulp have released their first single for more than a decade, Spike Island. The band have also announced their first album for almost 24 years. Called More, it's dedicated to the group's late bass player, Steve Mackey. A music journalist and Pulp fan, Matt Charlton, says he's been waiting for it.
They announced last year that they'd signed to Rough Trade, and people don't sign to a new label for legacy recordings and reissues. They sign for new music, so I was just waiting for that moment to drop. And it hasn't disappointed. It's a fantastic single.
And the luxury fashion brand Prada has agreed to buy its rival Versace for £1.1 billion. Versace's owner since 2018 was the American company Capri Holdings, which also owns Jimmy Choo and Michael Kors. The deal creates a multi-billion-pound luxury fashion group, putting the brands in a position to compete with the likes of French luxury fashion conglomerates LVMH and Kering. The weather, a cold night ahead and clear skies for much of the UK. That's the latest BBC News. It's 7:03.
On BBC iPlayer, a family like few others.
The Kinahans were street dealers who became billionaires.
Dublin's deadliest and one of the world's most wanted.
You're in the league of Pablo Escobar.
This is the story of an Irish cartel and their billion-pound global empire.
What you see is only a quarter of the total seizure.
Valued at about $1.3 billion.
The money is really, really ramping up.
Kinahan, the true story of Ireland's mafia. Watch on BBC iPlayer.
This is 5 Live Sport
with Mark Chapman.
Listen on BBC Sounds.
A big night in the Europa League. All 3 British clubs looking to save their seasons. Manchester United are in Lyon.
Bruno Fernandes! Into the bottom corner to send Manchester United into the Europa League quarter-final for sure now.
Meanwhile, Tottenham play Eintracht Frankfurt.
Anything you achieve in life usually comes with a struggle. This is just another struggle, but never through this struggle have I thought, I've lost the will to fight for what I think is the right thing to do, and we'll continue to do that.
Can Rangers produce another special European night at Ibrox?
Charlie's in behind the defender. He's one-on-one. Huge moment in retire! And Charlie rolls it home! Brilliant goal by Rangers!
And the 89th Masters is underway. Ian Carter.
And a heavyweight leaderboard that is headed by a Briton, Tyrrell Hatton, with a birdie here on the 12th to move to 4 under, 1 ahead of the defending champion Scotty Scheffler, who's on the par 5 13th in 2. Colin Morikawa, who eagled that 13th to get to 3 under. And Britain's Justin Rose, 3 under after 6, with Rory McIlroy level after his first 2 holes.
This is 5 Live Sport
with Mark Chapman.
Listen on BBC Sounds.
So we're live in Augusta. The opening round of the 89th Masters is well underway. Follow it in full on Sports Extra from 8 o'clock. We're going to combine the golf and the football here on 5 Live until 10 o'clock. Full commentary of Lyon Manchester United to come. So we'll go to France very shortly. There are a couple of early games, one in the Europa League where Bodo Glimt lead Lazio by a 1-0 midway through the second half. And whilst we're in the news, Chelsea doubled their lead away to Legia Warsaw. Chris Coles.
They did. Noni Madueke with that goal mark, a second half sub. He came on at half-time for Cole Palmer, which raised a few eyebrows, but the change has done the trick because Madueke, with a really tidy finish, poor giveaway by the goalkeeper, eventually Madueke 7 or 8 yards out with a controlled left-footed finish to add to Tyreek George's opener, and Chelsea now have a scoreline that reflects their dominance with an hour gone in Poland. Legia Warsaw 0, Chelsea 2.
So we are live in Augusta, our whole team out here. Alistair Bruce Ball alongside me in the media centre, where you're keeping an eye on various things. Rory McIlroy's actually birded the second.
I keep waving frantically at you, watching the action on the screen. Scotty Scheffler at the moment has an eagle putt on its way across the 13th green, the par 5. If this drops in, he moves to 5 under par, and he'll be in the lead on his own, the defending champion. And he barely touched that putt, and it's gone trickling and rolling and toppling towards the hole, but he hasn't holed it. So birdie putt for him to come. If he gets that, he's at 4 under. He'll be in a share of the lead with Tyrrell Hatton, and as you say, Rory McIlroy, he started really well actually, Mark. Watched his drive off the first, absolutely ripped one down the first, gave himself a birdie chance from within 10 feet and couldn't make that. But on the third, the short par 4 third, drove it to the front of the green, hit a lovely low-flighted chip into a couple of feet and popped it into the hole for a birdie. So his first birdie of this year's Masters, and he's at 1 under.
So if you regularly listen to our golf coverage from the Masters, you will know how it's all set up. If you haven't, then let me just explain it to you. On this opening day of the 89th Masters, we have set commentary positions around the course, so it's a bit different to doing a Open Championship or a Ryder Cup where we can walk inside the ropes and be with whichever group we choose. So the front 9, the first 9 holes, we don't have the commentary positions on the course. There aren't commentary positions on the course there, so we have somebody in the media centre monitoring all of those pictures, and then we have commentary positions out on the back 9 in some of the most beautiful, glorious places that you could ever wish to be on a golf course. At Amen Corner, over the 15th green and the 16th tee, and over the 17th green and the 18th tee as well. And our correspondent Ian Carter for the opening round has positioned himself at Amen Corner, so that's overlooking the 11th green, at the 12th tee on the par 3, so with the green in the distance, and then you can just also see the 13th tee as well, which Scotty Scheffler left maybe 5 or 10 minutes ago. And Ian Carter, the one thing that has struck me on this opening day, yes, it is a heavyweight leaderboard and there are some big names up there, but Scheffler is moving along very calmly and imperiously.
Yes, I said in one of the sports tests earlier in Drive that he was moving ominously, and there was a chap sitting next to me called Jeff Shackelford, who's one of the sort of leading bloggers in the game of golf, and he just looked at me and he said, that's the word, ominously. And of course he's not won this year so far, but he came close in Houston in his last outing, played very well there as runner-up, so he is trending in the right direction. And of course he's bidding to become only the 4th player to go back-to-back in terms of Masters wins, and to win it 3 times in the last 4 years. And it's just that accuracy and distance control that he can possess, which is such a great attribute at the Augusta National. So he is undoubtedly the man to beat.
What I would say is, though, Alistair, with delicious timing, as I think just as Ian went ominous, his birdie putt lipped out on 30.
Yeah, slight annoyance for him. I mean, it's a difficult putt. He found that par 5 13th green in 2. It's a wonderful golf hole, that long swinging dogleg right to left, the second shot over Raised Creek. We've seen players end up in there today, but he found the centre of the green. But from where he was today, with the pin cut where it is today, that is a really slippery downhill putt, and he probably left himself 6 or 7 feet, and that putt for birdie has just grazed the right edge of the hole, wouldn't drop. So it's a 3 putt for Scheffler. It's only a par on the 13th. He remains 3 under.
Trish Johnson, part of our team, multiple LPGA Tour winner, Solheim Cup winner. He just looks very, very calm, Scheffler, doesn't he? And let's not forget as well, if people are just dipping into their golf coverage for the first time this season, he hasn't had the easiest of starts to the season, a little bit self-inflicted as well.
Well, yes, a wine glass, which I wasn't laughing when I heard that, but I thought, probably doesn't partake in too much alcohol, I wouldn't have thought, but ironic. But no,
well, he was using it to cut ravioli.
Right. Okay. Either way, strange thing to use to cut ravioli, but nonetheless, no, awful. Obviously, nasty injury, and it has. There's no question that the first few months of the year he's behind the 8 ball, as they say. Given the other players, actually the other players have had a bit of a chance. Yeah. Because he's a little bit rusty, but. Yeah, I mean, that's a great word, ominous. He does, although that 3 putt was very, very uncharacteristic. Ali was right. It was a quick putt, but he really did misjudge it quite badly. And he looked particularly irked, I would say, when he came off that green. So I would think that 14, there could be a bit of a long drive coming.
And just the demeanour of Tyrrell Hatton, Ian, as he came through Amen Corner, because he has started brilliantly.
He has started absolutely sensationally. I don't think there's been a drop shot on his card. He came down the 11th. He just missed the green to the right, as many players have done. Played a lovely chip, left himself a little tester from above the hole. I wondered if he'd berate himself for going a little long with the chip, but no, he was calmness personified, rolled in the par putt there, then an immaculate tee shot into the par 3 12th, which is measuring 156 yards. He could have only had 6 feet for his birdie. Very calmly rolled that in. Reminiscent, I think, of a John McEnroe kind of figure who would have histrionics all over the place, but when it came to the big match against Bjorn Borg on Wimbledon Centre Court, would be calmness personified. And that was just a thought that passed through my head, watching him so smoothly go through Amen Corner as he has done.
Andrew McGee played here 7 times, is alongside him. If Tyrrell Hatton can stay calm, Andrew, ...
Well, that's the million-dollar question. It's the first round. Let's all not get too excited just yet. The racers are just warming up their engines, and they're getting out on a beautiful day for scoring here at Augusta. This first day is usually the time you'll see the lowest scores.
Mark,
sorry, hang on. Did you think that I was excited there, Andrew?
Oh, I think everybody's a bit excited on the team, aren't they?
Oh, well, 100%.
Beautiful start.
100%.
Okay.
Mark, just one thing to say very quickly on that. There is a European lineage that will encourage Tyrrell Hatton fans, because he won the Dubai Desert Classic in January rather. And if you look back when Sergio Garcia won in 2017, when Danny Willett won in 2016, they both came to Augusta as the reigning Dubai champions.
By the way, if you see Sergio Garcia's outfit this afternoon, goodness me, he is dressed as the Spanish flag, basically. He's got bright yellow trousers on, a shiny, garish red top as well, which is also linked to his live team as well in how he's dressed. But if you get access to the pictures, or by the way, I say this every year, download the Masters app. The Masters app is a great way to follow it alongside our commentary, because you can see some of the shots, see what the players are wearing, see all the stats on there. It's a very good way to follow it alongside our commentary. We've got Tyrrell Hatton on 4 under, Colin Morikawa 3 under, Scheffler 3 under, Rose 3 under, and James Gregg in front of you going to 3 under is
Corey Connors, the Canadian, who has just rolled an absolute peach in from about 25 foot down the slope, putting towards this back left hole location at number 17. I'm going to steal Alistair Bruce Ball's description of the 17th green from last year when I was in the car driving listening on Saturday afternoon, and he described it as being an Australia-shaped green. And as you look at it from the fairway, that pin position today is kind of in the northwestern area where there's not much population, basically in the back left corner. And he rolled the beauty in to get to 3 under par, and he's just strolled very casually with his shades on towards the 18th tee that's just to my left-hand side.
Look at you inspiring the next generation.
I think, do you know what, I think I use that every single year, James, not just last year. I think I use that every single year. The 15th green is a bit like that as well, from where we sit in our commentary position. The 15th green, I think that one looks like the map of Australia. And then if you know your geography of Australia, your Perth and your Melbourne and your Sydney and your Cairns, you can sort of...
Do you look at every green and look at it in terms of a country?
No.
That would test your geographical
really
knowledge, wouldn't it?
No, I don't.
Okay. Maybe you should. That'd be a good little quiz.
Is there an Italy out there, do you think? Little boot shape?
What, in the world? There is,
well,
yes.
No. At Augusta National, I mean, in terms of a green shape.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're inviting Vettel this morning, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I love being here. It's great. Bodo Glimt to double their lead against Lazio in the Europa League. So it's Bodo Glimt 2, Lazio 0. Our golf coverage will be uninterrupted on Sports Extra from 8 o'clock this evening here on 5 Live. It is about the Europa League. We've got 3 British teams in action. Let's start with Manchester United, who are away to Lyon, and Conor McNamara's there for us.
Hello, Mark. Yes, lovely evening here in eastern France. The sun just beginning to dip out of the sky, but still plenty of daylight. Wonderful stadium this, the Groupama Arena, 3rd biggest stadium in France, and a fitting setting for what is the last chance saloon for Manchester United in terms of salvaging something from what has been a miserable season. They've come here to take on Lyon, who've struck a bit of good late season form themselves. They've propelled back up into the top 5 in France. They're hoping to get into the Champions League for next season, and they make 4 changes from their last game, which was a 2-1 win against Lille here at the weekend. Jordan Veretout, once of Aston Villa, comes into play in the midfield. Nemanja Matic, who's been in the news with comments about Manchester United's Andre Onana, he's on the bench, as is Lacazette, Alexander Lacazette, the former Arsenal striker, who does score still a lot of goals for Lyon, but he begins this one on the bench. For Manchester United, the team news is that they're unchanged from the Manchester derby, that 0-0 game at Old Trafford on Sunday. So still Onana in goal, still no De Ligt. It's Mazraoui, Maguire and Yoro at the back. Then Dello and Dorgu are the wing-backs, Casemiro and Ugarte in the midfield, and a front three of Garnacho, Fernandes and Højlund.
Former Lyon and England midfielder Izzy Christiansen alongside Connor, former Tottenham and England winner Aaron Lennon with us as well. The fact that they're unchanged is quite a big statement, Izzy, isn't it? Because he has tinkered a lot since taking over.
Yep, that's right, chappers. To be honest, you know, on reflection of the Manchester derby, I actually think Ruben Amorim would have actually been quite happy with that performance. We all know, you know, the game was very, very dull. However, I think defensively, Manchester United looked pretty solid, and there's some really sort of nice bits of link-up play moving forwards, albeit not in a threatening area to Manchester City in the derby. But I think there were things there to say, you know, from Ruben Amorim's perspective, to say, I like what I saw, I want to see more of it, and that's probably why he's gone unchanged tonight.
Would you sort of go along with that, Aaron, that in sort of modern football parlance, the patterns of play were good, and then in old school parlance, they couldn't hit a barn door?
Yeah, so to speak, yeah. Look, Izzy's right there. I thought they looked really solid. And I thought they probably were the slightly better side in a really bad game. But yeah, I think he's looked at that and thought, yeah, I'll have a bit of that tonight away at Lyon. I can just hear in the atmosphere there, it sounds a little bit hostile. But I think they'll be looking there to go there, be tight, and maybe nick a goal on the counter. And like I said, I'll even come away with a draw today.
Tell you why it's hostile, chappers.
Yeah.
It's because Anana's just come out.
Oh, was that what it was? Yeah, I could hear it.
The ultras gave him a mouthful. I'll tell you that. When he had his headphones on, he was going and looking at the goal at the pitch, you know, at the start of the game, when the players arrived in the stadium, and he went over bravely towards the goal, which is to our left, where the ultras stand behind it, and he nodded his head, because we could see it on the TV monitors, he was nodding his head to sort of say, I know you're there, but it's not going to affect me, and that's why there's noise in the stadium that Aaron's referring to right now.
Right, well, we will come on to Anana in a little while. We did quite a bit on talking about Emi Martinez last night, and him coming out against Paris Saint-Germain with an Argentinian flag dyed into his hair, and the wind up from that sort of perspective, and Anana's done something similar in a press conference with Matic, but we'll come on to that in a little while. Let's hear from Ruben Amorim. His Manchester United side, the only unbeaten team in UEFA competition this season, which is a big contrast to their 13 defeats in the Premier League.
It's nothing tactical. I think I truly believe it's the pace of the game, the physicality of the game, and we have the best league in the world. Sometimes the games you don't see a lot of intensity, but I can guarantee you that compares to some games that we had in the Europa League, and I have the data to talk about it, is completely different. And if you have 1 more second to think with the ball, it's a different game. So until now, I don't know the game tomorrow, but until now I felt a difference when we play Europa League and when we play any Premier League game. So that small space of time can give us an advantage to play better. In this season, in this context, winning something like that is massive for us, for our confidence. And then to the future, to the next season. To play Champions League in our club is completely different. The environment, the way we are going to face the summer, the budget for the summer, everything is connected with this competition. And we know that pressure, but again, it's not the biggest problem in Manchester United. And we have another strength to get this in the right way without Champions League next year. But of course, if we are here, we will try to win.
That was Ruben Amorim. Chelsea has scored a third. Chris Coles.
By Noni Madueke, his second of the game, and that should be that not just for tonight, but you fancy the tie as a whole as well. Ball across goal, no one reacted in white in a Legia shirt, but Madueke between two defenders tapped in, and that came after Christopher Nkunku had missed a penalty for Chelsea, won it himself, but a weak penalty, easily saved Madueke, though sparing his blushes a couple of moments later. 13 minutes to play in Poland, Legia 0, Chelsea 3.
Rory McIlroy's just drained a 15-footer for par on the par 3/4, so he stays 1 under on his opening round at the Masters, the lead being held by Tyrrell Hatton on 4 under. Aaron Lennon, do you agree with Ruben Amorim that it's the different pace in Europe that helps his Manchester United players?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I played in Europe quite a bit when I was younger, and it's definitely a lot slower. So playing in the Premier League, It's much faster paced. And I think if Man United can take that into Europe, which they have this season, and you've seen their form has been much better in Europe, it's definitely going to help them. Like you said, it is a completely different pace.
What do you think, Izzy?
I agree with him, and to be honest, being the geek I am, I'd like to know the data that he also said that he had to back it up. You know, the running stats and you know, there's a lot of high-speed running. You know, high-speed running in football is really important, but it's not everything, because you've got to play with your brain as well. And he alluded there to having an extra second on the ball increases your ability to make a better decision. Not when you're Aaron, when he can play quick 1-2s around the corner on the wing, but
you're too nice.
I know. But I think that the way that he's interpreting that is that he's seeing a better version of Manchester United in Europe, and I do think that what we get access to in terms of stats and, you know, their form, and you look at the strikers' impact in Europe in both Xerxes and Højlund, it definitely correlates. And I can't wait to watch them tonight, to be honest with you, because I feel like they've got this teed up quite nicely. I don't think there's too much pressure within the camp. I don't think it doesn't feel that it's desperate. Yes, on the surface we look at it and go, Manchester United have to win silverware, but I actually think if you find a way in camp to reduce some of the pressure, or the perceived pressure, if you like, this team is on a process of building the foundations for the future. And I actually think if they can win this competition this season, it will give Ruben Amorim such a big leg up in terms of what he's trying to validate with this philosophy of football.
But as you say, if you talk to United fans, I wonder whether United fans probably don't think they need to win the Europa League. But the way Amorim talked about it there was they have to win the Europa League to get the finances from the Champions League to help their summer budget.
Well, that's exactly it, and there is a deeper meaning to it as well, and furthermore, recruitment as well. You know, if they do end up finding their way into the Champions League next season via the Europa League, what that does for summer recruitment is massive. And you'd like to think that, you know, I would imagine a lot of Manchester United fans want that recruitment to be targeted in the top end of the pitch, so that they can create more chances and, you know, build on the structures that they built. You know, bring more athleticism into midfield, get more dynamism up front, and you know, then start adding layers to what they're trying to build.
Well, I suppose those United fans would also quite like that recruitment to be targeted at players who are good, Aaron.
Yeah, and that is the thing, and for me that is why they have to get they have to go on to try and win this competition, because for me, if you do not win this competition, the top players want to play Champions League football. They're not going to come to United. United don't have that pull anymore. They can't go and just go where Man United come and sign for us, whereas they could have done that in the past. Now players are going, no, you don't have that pull. Unless you get Champions League, Man United cannot get that type of players, which they will need, and they need a lot of players. You've seen him this season, and the system he's playing. For him to get the players in, what he wants, they need to finish and they need to win this competition.
But the danger, I suppose, there is by bringing players who will only agree to play in the Premier League, play in the Champions League. That you're looking at character again, aren't you?
Yeah, you have. Well, you're gonna have to look at the characters. Look, the top players.
Because perversely, you sort of want people to say, you want to say to players, come and build something with us.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. Like I said, I don't think Man United have that pull anymore. Like I said, it's still a massive football club, we know that, but I don't think they have that same pull like they used to have, where they could say, come and build, it's going to take 3-4 seasons. Unless you go by top young talents and you go, look, this is a transitional period, it's going to take 4 or 5 seasons to get the top players in. Well then, if that's what they've sat and agreed with the board, and it says, look, you're here for the long term, I'm just not sure that's going to happen, because if Man United play and stay the way they have been this season, how long will you stay in a job? Because you wouldn't be in a job if it continues this way.
Aaron Lennon, Izzy Christiansen with us this evening. Lyon against Manchester United is our commentary. Chelsea are 3-0 up in the Conference League. Legia Warsaw. Bodo Glimt are tearing Lazio apart in the Europa League. They're 2-0 up, and they really should have had a third. And here at Augusta, the lead is now shared by 2 Englishmen. Tyrrell Hatton is on 4 under and he through 13, and he has been joined on 4 under through 8 by Justin Rose. Then tucked in behind them, Corey Connors on 3 under and Scotty Scheffler on 3 under. Let's turn our attentions to Liverpool. It looks like Virgil van Dijk and Mo Salah are set to sign new contracts at the club. Both players are discussing 2-year deals that would end speculation, obviously, about their futures. Our senior football correspondent, Sammy Mockbell, joins us now. They've got both virtually done then, have they?
Yes, chappers, I think finally some light at the end of the tunnel for Liverpool after this ongoing, long-running contract saga. So it's our understanding that both players are now very close to agreeing and ultimately signing their new contracts with Liverpool. There is, of course, and we must add, there is less certainty about the future of Trent Alexander-Arnold, who is in talks with Real Madrid. But in terms of those two, Salah and Van Dijk, all the signs are positive, and it is now a sort of the expectancy, and it's our expectancy that they will sign contracts that will run to a minimum of 2 years.
Do you think it was important for them to try and get them both done at the same time? I suppose what they didn't want was Mo Salah agreeing to a deal and then Virgil van Dijk going, well, you're paying him that, so I want that, or vice versa.
I think that there is a merit to doing that, but I think the most important aspect of all of this is making sure that those two players sign contracts and stay beyond the end of the season. And unless there is a drastic turn of events, I think they've accomplished that. Liverpool going for the title, but they have this long-running saga that's just taken so much attention away from what's the important stuff, really, what happens on the pitch, you know. And the biggest factor here is that they get to keep those two players, but also, pertinently, with regard to the 2-year deals, it's not an issue, and it won't be a narrative that Arne Slot will have to deal with at consecutive press conferences every week heading into next season. He knows that they can park that, and they can concentrate, and he can concentrate on other things and answer other questions. So you know, it's big news for the club, and it's definitely big news for Arne Slot and Liverpool, because these are two massively important players for the team.
Sammy, thank you very much for joining us. Sammy Mockbell, our senior football correspondent, with us this evening. Let's go back to Europa League. Tottenham hosting Eintracht Frankfurt in the first leg of their quarter-final. Henry Moran's at this one.
Yeah, massive night for Spurs, whose season has faltered, sees them languishing in 14th in the Premier League. To say that there's pressure on Ange Postecoglou would be to be putting it quite mildly. 2 changes from the unconvincing win here over Southampton on Sunday. Destiny Udogie, Mickey van der Ven come back into defence. Frankfurt, meanwhile, well, they may have lost their star man Omar Mamouche to Manchester City in January, and they've dipped a touch since then, but they're still third in the Bundesliga. They thrashed Ajax in the last round. Keep an eye out for World Cup winner Mario Götze, also the young French striker Hugo Ekitike, who scored 19 this season. Speaking of youngsters, can Spurs target 21-year-old goalkeeper Koa Santos, who starts in the absence of first-choice Kevin Trapp?
Thank you, Henry. Let's hear from Ange Postecoglou then on saying that he wants his squad to focus on games rather than proving to people that they want to be successful.
I just think we're in that position now where even the good stuff we may do is going to be turned into some sort of, half-glass full kind of rhetoric. So the lads are really keen to get ourselves to be in a position where we can bring success to the club, keep driving the principles of, why we started this whole sort of journey in terms of the kind of football we want to play, really stick together as they have through the toughest of periods. I just think there's a real determination to take the opportunity that they've earned up until this point, rather than, like I said, I just don't think you can win that argument of convincing people. I think John wrote, even if we win it, I'm gone anyway. So if you're trying to use that as a motivation, you're not going to win that anyway. So there's got to be something more in it for us, and for us, what the most important thing as a group is that, obviously, we've been through a really tough time, but we're still in a position where we can make an impact. The players are handling it well in terms of how they're trying to embrace this challenge of, you're going to face a top team, but we have the capabilities to overcome that.
Izzy Christiansen, do you understand him?
Ange?
Yeah.
It's really difficult, because I do feel for him, and I do agree with him in a sense that of late I do think people have piled on Spurs. I really do, and I think that it's almost like there's I say this kind of sense of humour around the fact that they've not ever won anything, and Ange Postecoglou didn't help himself with the comment earlier on in the season around winning. But I think he's clearly, you know, he knows what he's doing. He's got a way of playing. Injuries have affected him, and I do feel for managers in this situation, and I think he's probably needed a little bit more support and less of a pylon, because if you think about having to deal with a pylon in a press conference, you know, and leading into things and answering questions about things you don't want to be talking about, managers want to be talking about tactics and, you know, style of play and, you know, their philosophy, and they've got hidden layers underneath what they're trying to say to try and disguise, you know, sometimes the truth of what is actually going on. But that's how a football club works at this level. And I do feel for him.
Do you not think that a lot of times this season people have tried to talk about that philosophy and style of play, and have been met with a brick wall at times
in terms of his response?
Yeah.
Well, he's probably, you know, that relationship between him and, you know, everyone out there is probably a little fractured, because maybe there's a lack of trust from his perspective. And if you think about it, I don't want to use the word dictator about Ange Postecoglou, but he knows what he's doing, and he strikes me, I mean, Aaron might have more insight than me about this, but on the training pitch, a bit of a Sir Alex Ferguson, and, you know, for anyone that's read book or, you know, knows his management style, less is more in terms of the words that he said, and almost like a head teacher kind of style, as in their presence, you know, makes everyone sit up in the room, a little bit like, that's how I interpret Ange Postecoglou's style. Like, he has that sort of aura about him that you don't want to disappoint him, and I just don't know what people expect from that team. And if you look at the other teams they're competing against, yes, they've had a poor season, but I think he still needs time to embed what he wants to do. And I honestly feel for any manager who's trying to embed a style and just everyone gets on their back. I really do.
Does he need more time, Aaron, for you?
It's a difficult one. Like, I think he's had plenty of time. Look, I always believe managers need the windows to get their players to get them into their philosophy. But for me, the performances have just not been good enough. Look, there's been a crazy amount of injuries, but still, with the players they have there, they've still got to do better. I think they've lost 16 times this season, and that is just not good enough for Spurs, regardless of the injuries.
Do you think it's like a sorry, Chappers, I mean, this is just a wide one. Like, do you think there's like a cultural thing at Tottenham, Aaron? Like a little bit like, you know, the Manchester United of recent years. It's a cultural thing, and everyone's tried to put the finger on what it is, and it's sometimes really difficult to actually identify what it is.
I don't think it's. I actually think the recruitment's just not been good enough in recent years. Like I said, I was at Spurs for 10 years, and like I said, we managed to win the one trophy.
Was there a winning mentality? Like, when you were in the changing rooms, did you think, I am not going to let my teammates down today in training? 100%. I want to push and push and push.
Yeah, I was around. We had them players, so I was in them groups. Like I said, we had them players, and I believe some of the teams that I played in, we definitely should have won more than just the one trophy that we won. We did have them players who, in training, it mattered. In the 5-0, players were falling out. We had them confrontations daily. I'm not so sure these last few squads that Spurs have them characters and have them fallouts, and it feels a little bit too nice for me at times with this group of players. Like I said, to take away nothing from them, they are a talented group of players. I just feel as if it sometimes lacks the big characters who are going to dig you out at times. Not just from the manager, I think it has to come from the players as well.
I agree.
Aaron Lennon, Izzy Christiansen with us. Lyon against Manchester United is our commentary from 8 o'clock, but plenty of updates of Tottenham against Eintracht Frankfurt, and also Rangers against Athletic Bilbao, and that's where Ailey Barber is for us.
Good evening, Mark. Barry Ferguson has been true to his word at the weekend in terms of making changes. The big talking point is that after a number of mistakes recently, Jack Butland has been dropped to the bench. Liam Kelly starts. His only European experience was in a Conference League qualifier back in 2022 for Motherwell, in which he conceded 3 against Sligo Rovers. Barry Ferguson has spoken about his decision. He says he still believes in Butland. He wasn't happy with the decision, but that it is the one he feels is right, and that he will live and die by it. So we will see if that has an impact tonight. 5 other changes for Rangers. Outfield, John Suter, Mo Diamandi suspended. There's a return to 3 at the back. Cyril Dessers continues to lead the line, and Atletico Bilbao, they make 7 changes in total as well, but it does include a return for top scorer Owen Sunset, who will be flanked by the electric Williams brothers. A huge test
for Rangers tonight against a team sitting 4th in La Liga, but despite some really shaky domestic form, their European results have on the whole been very impressive.
They're 4th in La Liga, the final is in Bilbao, so that's a massive incentive for them as well. But as we talked about before, Ailey, Rangers' problems this season have not been against the, in inverted commas, big clubs.
No, not at all. They've had some fantastic results in Europe, obviously beating Fenerbahce over the 2 legs. They had a big victory here against Nice in the group stage. They drew with Spurs as well, and Olympiacos, and they've beaten Celtic twice out of their 3 meetings in the league this season. When Rangers are expected to win, that is when the problems come. When they play against a team who will try and press them high up the pitch, leave spaces in behind, and where there maybe isn't that same expectation from the crowd, Rangers seem to find a way to get results that certainly raise a few eyebrows, and that will be what they'll be hoping will happen tonight. But I mean, this is a massive test for Rangers. This is the biggest test they've had all season, because Athletic Bilbao, I mean, you don't sit 4th in La Liga without having fantastic form. They've got the joint best defensive record in La Liga, so this is going to be a huge test for Rangers. But listen, we've seen Rangers do remarkable things in Europe before. It was only 3 years ago they made it all the way to the Europa League final.
Thank you very much, Ailey. Final whistle has gone in Norway. Bodo Glimt 2, Lazio 0. It's also gone in the Conference League. Chris Coles.
Where Chelsea have a commanding 3-0 lead to take to Stamford Bridge. Legia 0, Chelsea 3. Tyreek George first for the club, and then 2 Noni Madueke goals after the break. And in all of that, Christopher Nkunku had a penalty save, so an already sizable advantage could have been greater, but Chelsea can surely already start planning for the Conference League semi-finals. The first leg of their quarter-final has finished Legia Warsaw 0, Chelsea 3.
Thank you very much. We'll continue our build-up to our Europa League coverage in a little while, but let's bring you up to date with everything that's happening here at Augusta on the opening round of the 89th Masters. And Alistair Bruce Ball, it's now a 3-way share of the lead.
Yeah, 2 Englishmen have been joined by the Canadian, the smooth swinging Canadian Corey Connors. Has just been catching up with his play. He's in the clubhouse today at 4 under par. Tyrrell Hatton is playing the 14th. In fact, his scores are just going up on the par 4 14th as I speak. He's parred it, so he's at 4 under par with 4 to play. And Justin Rose still on the front nine. Justin Rose came flying out of the gates this morning, birdied the first 3. He's birdied the par 5 8, so he's at 4 under. But Corey Connors, yeah, he's birdied 17 and 18, Mark. He missed the fairway on the 17th, but clipped one off the pine straw into about 25 feet, and then a perfect putt up the hill, straight into the heart of the hole. And then the 18th, that's an intimidating tee shot, the 18th. People who know the Augusta well, you're right back there, huge, tall, thin avenue of trees. But he found the middle of the fairway, knocked one into 13 feet, and then down the hill on the 18th, in front of the packed grandstands there, all the patrons around the green, knocked that in as well. So Connors is at 4 under, Hatton 4 under, and Rose 4 under, 1 ahead of the defending champion Scotty Scheffler.
Hatton about to tee off on 15. Scotty Scheffler approaching the 15th green in front of Catherine Downs.
Yep, and he's just arrived, walking in that languid, relaxed way of his down the hill, head down, looking at the tips of his bright white golf shoes. Went for the green in 2, which has been the play for the big hitters from the very top of the hill on the par 5 here at the 15th. Lots of players laying up. Justin Thomas, one of his playing partners, amongst them. That's the safe option, to fly this little kidney-shaped pond in front of me that looks like a spill of molten dark chocolate shining in this Augusta sunshine. And Scotty Scheffler's ball went flying over that, through the back of the green and over the back by about, well, 20 yards or so. He's overshot the green by a long, long way. Safe, there's plenty of space back there, but it's a really difficult chip back up to the green, which then slopes away towards the water. And as I heard Alistair describing this green earlier, a little bit like a map of Australia, the flag is cut, I imagine, where Alice Springs would be, so kind of in that kind of bottom right-hand corner, not far inland from Sydney and from Brisbane on that eastern coast.
I have to say, you are all assuming that we have an amazing knowledge.
Look, my first time here, and I've got to say this vista is, yeah, pinch yourself stuff.
Good stuff, James Gregg.
Yeah, pinch yourself stuff.
Good stuff, James Gregg with us this year at the Masters. So Justin Rose is the leader, 5 under. Connors and Hatton 4 under. Scheffler on 3 under. And Bryson DeChambeau has just joined the group on 2 under, and he has only played 4 holes. The golf is going to continue uninterrupted on Sports Extra from 8 o'clock. We'll keep you up to date with it here on 5 Live throughout the evening, but we're going to concentrate on the football and the Europa League. 3 British teams are in action. Tottenham are playing Eintracht Frankfurt, Rangers are at home to Athletic Bilbao, and we are in France with Manchester United's game away to Lyon. And it has been given a little bit of extra edge as this, after Nemanja Matic, the former United midfielder who starts on the bench today for Lyon, hit back at Andre Onana's claims that United are way better than the French side. This is what Matic had to say.
You know, to say that, you need to have cover for something like that. Onana, you know, I respect everyone, but to say that, then you need to get the answer. If you are one of the worst goalkeepers in Man United history, you need to take care what you are talking. You know, if David De Gea or Peter Schmeichel or Van der Sar say that, then I will question myself. But if you are one of the statistically the worst goalkeepers in Man United modern history, then you know he needs to show that before he says. So we will see.
Whose side do you on? Is he Matic or Onana?
He didn't just say it once, he said it twice, that he's the worst goalkeeper in Manchester United history. His words, not mine. I don't sit on any side with that, to be honest with you. To be honest with you, if anything, I actually quite like it, in terms of it's added spice to an already very spicy game ahead tonight, and I have no issue with it. And like I said, we've been here in the stadium for a good couple of hours now, and we saw Onana come out onto the pitch, and the reception he got from the Lyon Ultras, it was scary. But he acknowledged it, and I think that was his moment to say, do you know what, I know what's happened, I know what's been said, but I'm calm, and I think he took that moment then to just take it in, so it's not going to affect him during the game.
Acknowledged it how, if people weren't listening a little bit earlier?
Well, he nodded. So we had it on the TV monitors right in front of us here. We are a long way up in the stadium, by the way, but the Lyon Ultras are down to our left behind the goal. And they were making a lot of noise when Onana started walking over. They were booing him, whistling, you know, it was really hostile. And Onana, the camera zoomed in on him, and he had his headphones in his ears, and he just started nodding. And there was a little bit of a sort of, I know what you're going to do, or try and do to me tonight, but it's not going to affect me. So he's had his moment, and I just think that when this game kicks off, every time the ball goes near Onana, this stadium's going to erupt.
Is it? We touched on this last night though, Colin, didn't we, really, with Martinez? And if Martinez wants to do keep-ups when Argentina are 4-1 up against Brazil, or stick an Argentina flag in his hair ahead of a game against a French team because Argentina beat France in the World Cup, then he sort of has a back catalogue to back it up. And if you're going to do this kind of thing, you've got to have the character and the history to back it up, haven't you?
Yeah, agreed. I think Onana's been targeted here. I think, you know, people say a lot of things in the build-up to games, but he's a goalkeeper who reacts very well to shots. There are certain parts of his game that are not the strongest, coming for crosses being one of them, operating with his feet, he can look wobbly, and I think Nemanja Matic is just putting that little bit in. The way we see teams do it, I remember being a game at Old Trafford last season when Villa had a free kick and they sent someone to stand in behind the goalkeeper, clearly offside for the free kick, but just to unsettle Onana, and it worked. So I think when, you know, teams prepare for games like this, they look for weak points, maybe some young kid who's coming in, maybe something like that. I think Matic knew exactly what he was doing. As Izzy said, he made the point not once but twice. He went in two-footed with it. They want to try and rattle Onana. When Onana came out, as all goalkeepers do, they came out earlier before any other players for the warm-up. It's almost like they came in early, Izzy, just for that moment, that they would have Onana one-on-one, and he had the headphones in and he's tried to ignore them, but he definitely heard. So it's a bit like last night in Paris, where every time Emi Martinez had the ball, there was cheers and cheers. I bet you the same's going to happen tonight with Onana.
Do you think, is he a good goalkeeper, Aaron?
No, he's had his questionable moments this season. Like, I think they brought him in. I think he's good with his feet. Like I said, coming for crosses, shots, I'm not so sure. But look, he's a confident goalie, but I agree with Conor there. I think Matic has been really clever here. He's seen an opening, seen an opportunity, and gone, I'm going to jump all over it, I'm going to get the fans onto Onana, I'm going to make it as uncomfortable as possible in this arena, and yeah, Matic has used his experience here, and I'm all for it as well. I love this stuff.
There are a couple of things as well, I suppose, Izzy. It's a bit unfair to compare keepers from bygone eras, because partly the game was different, but also they may have had slightly better back fours in front of them, or more settled back fours in front of them. His stats are interesting, and I genuinely don't know how you would interpret these, really. He makes the most saves per 90 minutes of any Manchester United keeper in the last 20 years. But only Anders Lindegaard has a worse save percentage, and he concedes a goal on average every 63 minutes. In black and white, I don't know what to make of that, but then there are so many other factors that play into it.
Yeah, it's a position which has been totally modernised in football. We don't need to state the obvious that now goalkeepers, more often than not, need to be super competent, you know, with their feet, playing out from the back. So that is the first evolution in goalkeeping. And the second piece, like you say, is the unsettlement, specifically here at Manchester United's back three or back five, however you want to look at it. There's been, I think Connor mentioned to me in the car on the way here, 16 different combinations of back threes playing in front of Onana. Now, in his defence, that is difficult. But tonight, Ruben Amorim has named an unchanged back three again. I'm not saying Onana's going to have the game of his life, but I do think it's going to start to help him settle, and he'll have come into this game tonight, yes, with that little bit of, you know, mumbling in the media over the past couple of days, but he looked secure on the pitch earlier. He did look secure. You can sort of see it in his eyes. He looked okay, and it'll be very interesting to see how Manchester United cope with the goal threat that Lyon have in quite a lot of areas of the pitch. They look really good in the final third.
So already today, Legia Warsaw 0, Chelsea 3 in the Conference League, Bodo Glimt 2, Lazio 0 in the Europa League. Here at Augusta, Justin Rose leads the Masters 5 under at the turn. Corey Connors 4 under in the clubhouse. Tyrrell Hatton 4 under through 14. The defending champion Scotty Scheffler in 4th on his own, 3 under through 15. The golf is on Sports History if you'd like to listen to it. We'll keep you updated here on 5 Live, as we will with Tottenham Eintracht Frankfurt and Rangers Athletic Bilbao in the Europa League. From France, where our commentary is Lyon against Manchester United with Izzy Christiansen and Conor McNamara.
Thanks very much, Mark. For Manchester United, this is it. This is what the whole season has boiled down to. They hope that next week's second leg of this quarter-final at Old Trafford will be a big deal. They hope it will bring them through to a semi-final. All of those games will, if when they come, be billed as a biggest game of the season for Ruben Amorim's team. But to get there, they've got to perform tonight, and de facto, that makes this the biggest game of the season to this point. Manchester United are out there wearing a change strip this evening. They're all navy blue, Lyon in their traditional white. The stadium is packed. There is such coordination, so many different elements to the build-up. The fans get in early. They unfurl these enormous banners. There are flags, there are fireworks, there are, you know, little bits of foil paper that get released. Oh, it's like going to Cirque du Soleil or something. It's all very coordinated, very much building up the tempo and the atmosphere. And this could be a big Champions League night, Izzy, let alone the Europa League. This feels a big stage in eastern France this evening.
Oh, it really, really does. It's been, you know, so cool to be in and around the city this afternoon, you know, seeing all the Lyon fans coming into the stadium, and you can feel the energy and the atmosphere that has been building since for the last hour, and the fans are really getting into their voice right now.
They've had a massive banner unfurled and just taken it away. In French it translates to honour this coat of arms, fight like lions. They want their team Lyon to perform for the pride of the club of the city, with high-profile opponents in town in the shape of Manchester United, who, let's face it, have had a miserable campaign. And yet there is always the redemptive power of football. There's always the chance that this could click into place. They could win the Europa League. They could be celebrating with a trophy. They could be back in the Champions League next season. That is all tantalisingly almost within grasp of Manchester United. As the players go into a huddle down below us, Bruno Fernandes leading the team talk in there, trying to rouse one big performance from his team here, and they're going to need to be good, Manchester United, because Lyon are no mugs. They've won 6 of their last 7 games in all competitions. They beat Lille on Saturday to get back up into the mix for Champions League through the league for the next campaign as well. We're about to get underway. Manchester United unchanged from the Manchester derby at Old Trafford on Sunday. Lyon, who made 4 changes from their last league game to win against Lille. And the Georgian, George Mikaladze, stands inside the centre circle and prepares to get this Europa League quarter-final first leg underway. This is 5 Live from the BBC. We're live tonight on BBC Sounds. Coverage of the golf from the Masters in Augusta continues on Sports Extra, but we're concentrating on the football here. We are underway, Lyon playing from right to left as we look down. The Manchester United fans are housed high up, right at the top of the stand, far side of the pitch from us, up in the top right corner. We've heard they've had trouble getting in. There was issues with the trams from the city centre to the stadium, which is out on the edge of the town. But it looks like most of them have got here. There's a big contingent filling that area. And there's the first boos and cheers of the night. When you hear that, you'll know Andre Onana has the ball.
Yeah, you don't need to commentate on that bit, do we? Yeah, they swapped ends actually, both sides. I don't know who won the toss, but there was a switch of ends, and Onana is absorbing that atmosphere from the ultras in this first half.
If you're Andre Onana, if you had a choice, would you say, right, let's get it over with, first half, go on, shout, ring in my ears, and I'll get relative quiet the other end, or would you try and put it off to the second half if you could?
I'd do it this way round, the way that they've done it. If they did win the toss and they chose to change, that's probably why.
Yeah, face up to your fears. Delayed play here, because Alejandro Garnacho's been caught and he's slow to get back up to his feet. Harry Maguire is coming to have a word with the Swedish referee, Glenn Nyberg, one of UEFA's more experienced officials. Pablo Fonseca, who's the Lyon coach, who is in the technical area this evening. You might have heard the story. He's currently serving a 9-month touchline ban for confronting a referee in the French league last month. Now that only applies to domestic fixtures. He's not allowed to go on the touchline, but he is allowed in that technical area this evening in the Europa League. Harry Maguire inside his penalty area gives it to Lenny Yoro on the left-hand side. Dorgu now under pressure. There's a high press from Lyon, who I'm sure will have been watching Paris Saint-Germain's performance against Villa last night and thinking that's how you get out a Premier League team. United get the free kick here. Lenny Yoro to take it on the edge of the penalty area. But early indicators here is that Lyon are not going to sit back. They're going to go and fight at Manchester United's defenders as they try to play it out.
Spot on. They're going to use the atmosphere that they generate from Lyon pressing high, trying to win the ball back. Caused a foul in that instance, but that is where they want to target Manchester United.
The Lyon team, Brazilian goalkeeper Lucas Perry plays behind a back four containing Ainsley Maitland-Niles, the England international, the former Arsenal West Brom player, Clinton Mata and Moussa Nikate, formerly of Nottingham Forest, are the two central defenders. Nicolas Tagliafico, well-renowned Argentinian international left-back, former Ajax player. He knows many of the Manchester United players, by the way, former teammate of De Ligt, Lisandro Martinez, Mazraoui, Andre Onana, they all played together at Ajax. Another delay here. It's Clinton Mata, who is down, and he needs some treatment, so the physios are coming on. The three in the midfield for Lyon tonight: the captain Tolisso, the French international. Then there's the Ivorian Paul Ako-Yuoko, with Jordan Veretout, former Aston Villa player, who was in the Marseille team that reached the semi-finals of this competition last season. The front three: Ryan Cherki, big things expected of him, came through as a wonder kid a few years ago, and he's beginning to live up to that billing now. George Mikaladze, the Georgian, 8 goals in his last 6 games. He'll be the central attacker tonight for Lyon. And Thiago Almada, another Argentinian international, who's on loan from Botafogo, and he scored his first goal of this season a couple of games ago against the Havre. We're still waiting for Mata to get back to his feet, so we're not missing any live action here. 5 Live from the BBC, the Europa League in France tonight in Lyon, with the Manchester United team of Andre Onana behind 3 central defenders, Mazraoui, Maguire and Yoro, just as it was at the start of the derby on Sunday. Dalot and Dorgu, the wing-backs, Manuel Ugarte alongside Casemiro in the midfield, and then Bruno Fernandes and Alejandro Garnacho in support of Rasmus Højlund. Clinton Mata is still not up, so we'll take advantage of a break in the action here to check on how Tottenham have got started up against Frankfurt in this competition. Henry Moran is watching.
Very lively start here, both sides really going for it. Everything that the game between Spurs and Southampton here in the Premier League on Sunday wasn't. There's such energy, vibrance in the crowd, on the field. No side creating a chance as yet. You just sense this game is tingling, sparkling, 0-0.
Tingling and sparkling at Tottenham. What about Rangers against Atletico Bilbao? The winner of this tie plays the winner of that one in the semis. Hayley Barber.
An absolutely electric atmosphere inside Ibrox tonight. It is so loud, and Rangers have created their first real opportunity of the game. Václav Černý cutting onto that left foot. His effort, though, high and wide of the Athletic Bilbao net. It is a fascinating one here with Rangers making all those changes. It's still 0-0.
Thanks very much, Haley. So, Mata has just come back on for Lyon. They're back to 11. Manchester United have possession, playing from left to right as we look down. Fantastic stadium, this real modern arena. Third biggest stadium in France. As Yoro here tries to get away from Cherki. He's got Dorgu available outside. It's an early ball up to the centre circle. Good link-up play by Rasmus Højlund to feed it to Dallo on the right-hand side. And he's cut in field. And that creates a bit of room for Garnacho, who crosses from the right-hand side, and a good block by Akiwoko. Garnacho's been able to keep the ball in play. Then that looks like a trip on Garnacho. Free kick to Manchester United. Crossing position on the right-hand side. Now that was good. That was positive from Dallo especially. Getting the head down, driving at Lyon, and asking questions of the French defence.
Yeah, the first touch for Højlund as well. Coming in, dropping deep, linking play, protecting the ball. Fizzes it out to Garnacho. He gets into that isolated situation with Dallo around him. Really good for Manchester United.
0-0 here. So often there are early goals in games involving Spurs, and tonight, Henry Moran?
It is Spurs 0, Eintracht Frankfurt 1. This young, thrilling French talent, Hugo Ekitike, 20th of the season. Spurs stood back, he fired low into the corner. Spurs 0, Frankfurt 1.
Definitely noise in Lyon as Bruno Fernandes takes the free kick, right footing, great delivery, and just about shoveled away. It bounced on the edge of the 6-yard box. Casemiro attacked it at the front post, and I think it was somehow cleared away by Tolisso and out for a corner.
Yeah, it was a fantastic ball across from Bruno Fernandes. How many times have we said that? He fizzes it across into a space with pace, and it's almost an own goal. Just goes over.
Corner to Manchester United, 0-0. Early stages of this Europa League quarter-final first leg. They will meet this night next week at Old Trafford. Again, we'll have commentary of that game here on 5 Live. Bruno Fernandes prepares to take it. Between scoring and assists, he's now the player with most goal involvements, not just in the Europa League this season, but in Europa League history. And he stands with his hands on his hips, and he waits for the referee's indication. There's all sorts of jostling, harrowing for position. Casemiro's very agile in there, making a lot of movement, trying to wriggle into some space, but it's a disappointing delivery for Bruno Fernandes, and it's cleared away by the first defender, and Dorgu has to play it back to Mazraoui. A little bit of a soft pass from Dorgu there. Mazraoui's able to deal with it, but then the tackle comes in from Cherki, and Manchester United, for what should have been a very easy situation to get back on the attack there, have given away the ball inside the Rona. Look at Bruno Fernandes shouting at the defenders there that they should have done better and been more decisive.
Yeah, he wanted the ball in behind Bruno Fernandes. His body language, he's just telling his teammates, just fizz it into the space he was on. But there's a little bit sloppy from Dorgu there, and that is exactly what I am talking about. There is an incentive applied to any mistake Manchester United make, that this stadium will erupt and the fans will really start to get on board.
Ainsley Maitland-Niles played it right back from Lyon this evening. He played in the Europa League final for Arsenal in 2019. It's good work from Højlund here as one possession for Manchester United in the midfield. And then Ugarte's return pass to the Dane was weak and short. And big roar from the Lyon fans as they recapture possession. And here they come now, over the halfway line down the right-hand side. Manchester United working hard to get bodies back behind the ball. Tolisso passes it into the midfield. Jordan Vertu, 32 years of age now, former French international. Tolisso on the left wing with the white boots. Garnacho hovering close to him, and it's played back to Moussa Niakate, who Lyon spent over £30 million to sign him from Nottingham Forest last summer. Lyon holding on to possession here, but Manchester United not allowing it to be comfortable possession. Bruno Fernandes and then Rasmus Højlund both go sprinting on to apply a bit of pressure and force Lyon to play it back to the goalkeeper, Berry.
Yeah, it's good shape for Manchester United. We saw it on Sunday in the derby. They were really disciplined and tight and compact, and I'm actually just keeping my eye on Casemiro. He's got quite a static role in there, but I actually think in a game like this it might be quite effective.
This is Niakate at the back for Lyon. Rolling into Clinton Mata, who played against Manchester United in the past in this competition with Bruges. It was a two-legged tie like this one. They drew the first one. They were beaten 5-0 at Old Trafford in the second leg. The memory of that, I'm sure, will spur him on to feel Lyon need to establish a first leg lead here in France. In a week that we've seen contrasting outcomes for the English teams in Europe. What a night for Arsenal on Tuesday. Much more difficult for Aston Villa last night in Paris against a rampant Paris Saint-Germain. Who knows which way this is going to go here, Leon, against Manchester United tonight. It's 0-0 for the moment as Ainsley Maitland-Niles, orange boots, comes up over the halfway line with long strides. There's no one marking here in the midfield. Look at this for space. Mikoadze is able to roll it to the left wing. Virtu has a little look up, doesn't rush things, wants to pick a careful pass in. Tolisso makes himself available. Back again to Clinton Mata. Urged to shoot by some Leon fans, even though he's miles out. They hold on to possession. It's Cherki wide on the right-hand side. Bruno Fernandes, the closest defender to him. This is crisp, short-range passing from Leon. They keep it moving, 2-3 touches each at most. As Cherki delivers into the penalty area. No one marking Tagliafico. He heads it down, and Dallo is able to head it out for a corner. Corner to Leon as their fans roar behind that goal.
Oh, it's a wonderful bit of build-up play from Leon. You know, really crisp, like you say, Connor. The passing, the authority around it. And that is brilliant, getting the full-back, the left-back high into that space, and it's a brilliant little interception from Dallo just to stop that ball arriving into the box.
These teams who have met in the past in the Champions League. Plenty of history between them. Corner is going to be played in from the left-hand side, and most of the Leon players have taken a position towards the back post, sort of like the Arsenal routine. Then they disperse around the penalty area. As the cross comes in from Thiago Almada, and Manchester United survive that. The ball goes out of play. It would in fact be a Manchester United throw. And Bruno Fernandes roars at Garnacho and he says, come on, here's the chance. Throws it in front of Garnacho, but too far ahead of him. And Virtu is able to sweep back and play to the goalkeeper. 0-0 it remains.
Yeah, it was good tracking back from Virtu there. He just wrecked the run of Garnacho. Bruno Fernandes, in typical Bruno Fernandes fashion, he just wants to play quickly, use the space, release Garnacho, but Virtu snuffed it out.
Well, he's had criticism from some quarters this season, Bruno Fernandes, but 7 goals in his last 9 games in all competitions. He has been the driving force. Manchester United, an imperfect team, that's for sure, but many would argue that were it not for Bruno Fernandes, well, where would they be? Tolisso here rolls the ball back to Niakate again, inside his own half. Leon playing right to left in white. Tolisso gets it back inside Manchester United territory, forces the ball in front of Mikoadze. And the Georgian takes on Dallo. Good acceleration into the penalty area. Mazraoui sweeping across, defends really well, because not only does he make the tackle, he ensures the last touch goes off George Mikoadze, and that is a goal kick to Andre Onana, and a goal kick for Manchester United away to our left-hand side. So Leon 0, Manchester United 0, is it?
Yeah, it's been a really good spell for Leon. Really authoritative on the ball. You know, dictating play. They're having a lot of success finding the midfielders on the half turn in between Højlund and Garnacho, Casemiro and Ugarte, and that is causing Manchester United a problem.
You'll hear the cheers because Onana has possession. There is a red card at Ibrox. Amy Barber.
And it's gone the way of Rangers defender Robin Proper. He took down Inaki Williams right on the edge of the penalty area. He was the last line of defence, denied a goal-scoring opportunity, and the referee, after a VAR check, has sent him off, and now Nico Williams places the ball, and they're about to take the free kick. Still Rangers 0, Athletic Bilbao 0.
It's very much Ailey. So Tottenham behind, Manchester United being held level here in France at Lyon, where Clinton Mata has possession for the home side, rolls it into the midfield to Paul Akuyuoko, one of 4 changes that Paulo Fonseca has made tonight from the league game of the weekend. They played it out to the left wing again, looking for Mikoadze. He's a diminutive player, couple of step-overs, gets away from Mazraoui, clips in across, but too close to Onana, and the Cameroonian is able to gather it high above his head.
Yeah, Mikoadze, he's hugging this left-hand touchline. He's keeping the width to the absolute maximum, and it's the total opposite to what Manchester City did against Manchester United on Sunday in the derby, and he's had so much success getting in beyond Dallo, and that's going to cause Manchester United another problem.
That was Marc de France last night in Paris when Aston Villa were given a tough night by Paris Saint-Germain, and there Georgian Kvaratskhelia played a brilliant performance, scored a goal, but he attacked in the left wing and he was dangerous all night, and you can see that his compatriot Mikoadze here trying to do an impersonation of that, because he's in a bright swashbuckling start to the game on the left-hand side. Onana picks a good pass into the midfield. Casemiro helps it up to Bruno Fernandes. Now, this is ahead of Dorgu, but not the right angle. It actually had the right pace for Bruno Fernandes, but it was veering away from Dorgu, too close to the defenders. Right idea for Bruno Fernandes, just not the right execution.
Yeah, spot on. It's exactly how close it is to Manchester United being successful and not being successful in the final third. The space was there to be used, to be ran into, but Niakate, centre back for Lyon, he just read it really well and came across and put the fire out.
We have played a quarter of an hour. Lyon 0, Manchester United 0 on 5 Live for the BBC in the Europa League. Mazraoui wins the header, but Tolisso gets it back for Lyon. Mikotadze fouled surely by Ugarte. Referee says play on because Lyon still have possession. There's been a few heavy tackles have gone in this opening quarter of an hour already. Here is Mikotadze again trying to get in ahead of Mazraoui, who's not been able to fully clear. And the Georgian gets a touch in here. Cherki tries to give it out to Tagliafico on the left-hand side. This is level at the edge of the penalty area that Lyon attacked. They've got a good pace to their game here in the early stages. What a lovely backheel that is. Chance to shoot for Tolisso, and it's Casemiro who gets his body in the way. And the ball ricochets all the way back to the halfway line. Good pressure this for the French team.
Oh, tell you what, you've got to just sit back and admire some of that attacking play. That is sensational to watch. And it's the first time we've mentioned Cherki in the game. He's on that right-hand side. He's come inside to get the ball, get it popping about, and my word, he's effective.
Cherki, who looks business. No player has provided more assists in the Europa League this season, or in fact in any previous Europa League season. He's been an assist machine for Lyon through this campaign. And he's already nearly created one or two things tonight. As Mikotadze plays the ball back into his own half. Tagliafico, lots of time. The press from Manchester United not as urgent as what we see from their hosts this evening, with Manchester United trying to play it out from the back. Lyon really get at them, but Harry Maguire does win back possession here inside his own half, rolls it to the left-hand side to Lenny Yoro, who played the full game against Manchester United on Sunday. That's only the third time that he's completed the full 90 minutes of the Premier League so far. Still young, remember, Lenny Yoro, who turned 19 in November and back on French soil tonight, a young French teenager. Mazraoui to Dallo. Manchester United still inside their own half here. And Lyon are making it difficult for Ruben Amorim's team to break into the other end of the pitch.
They are, but this is a good little spell for Manchester United just to get their foot on the ball, not force it, but that's exactly what they've done.
Nice touch there from Tagliafico. Sold to dummy, which Ugarte bought. Big cheer from the crowd as the Uruguayan went tumbling, and Tagliafico came forward with possession. And Lyon have it with Niakate on the back, rolls into his right-hand side to Clinton Mata. Lyon tonight without Ernest Nuama, who's been one of their better attackers this season. He picked up a knee injury in the win against Lille on Saturday, and that has now been confirmed as a season-ending injury, so he won't be involved in the second leg next week either. Tolisso here, 10 yards outside his own penalty area, is fouled by Ugarte. Free kick to Lyon. It's the difference between pressure in a press that puts your opponents on edge and pressure that just gives away free kicks. So Manchester United need to get that balance right.
Spot on, absolutely spot on. But it's a lovely balance of rhythm to Lyon's play.
Here's Dorgu. Nice little touch by Bruno Fernandes to send him in the penalty area. Hoyland fluffs his shot. Well, the Dane needs goals, and he doesn't get many opportunities, but by the standards of this season, that was a big chance, and he scuffed the shot. Moments like that, he's got to get a clean connection. Dorgu pulled it back perfectly, and Rasmus Hoyland can have no complaints for anyone else there. He's just miscued his attempt.
Yeah, Manchester United high press, win the ball back. Dorgu breaks on that left-hand side. I'm just watching a replay. He has to do better. He doesn't connect with the ball. He drags at it. He snatches at it. 5 goals already in the Europa League this season. That should have been his 6th.
It does feel like he can't catch a break, Rasmus Hoyland. I'm sure he's a great guy, and he tries his heart and he runs his socks off, but he's not getting the goals, and that was an opportunity. At least test the goalkeeper. He was on the box, unable to hit the target. Here come Lyon down the right-hand side. Ryan Cherki, right-footed ball into the middle, a little bit too high for the players in the centre. It comes all the way through to Tagliafico, who's up from left back, and then a miscue from Mazraoui keeps Manchester United under pressure. The Moroccan has put it out for a corner. Corner to Lyon on the left-hand side. Easy Christensen.
Cheap from Mazraoui. Really doesn't need to concede that corner there. You know, there's a little bit of a bouncing ball at the back stick, headed back across, and Mazraoui, he's under pressure from Tolisso, but that is a cheap corner to concede.
So let's see if Thiago Almada is able to create anything here. Huddle of Lyon players, all grouped together as Almada prepares to take the corner, and it's a rehearsed move. It's rolled short, back to the Argentinian, an in-swinger then, which Dallo will head back out, and it'll be another corner, and the ultras behind that corner really enjoy this. Izzy, this is a city you know well, you used to play here. They love their football in these parts.
They really do. The fierce rivalry domestically with Paris Saint-Germain, of course, but European nights here are different.
absolutely given everything. Proper 12th man effort from the Lyon fans. Here comes the corner, played in, headed out by Casemiro, shot back in by Almada, but he didn't catch it cleanly. Skewed off the outside of his boot, and Thiago Almada sends the ball into the crowd.
You can feel the pressure from Lyon starting to build and build and build. They'll have gained so much confidence from this opening 20 minutes or so in the way that they've applied what they want to do. I love the way that they play. Really impressive.
Manchester United, who would love to keep a clean sheet tonight, this evening. It's the 31st game that Ruben Amorim has been in charge of the club in all competitions. His team have only kept 5 clean sheets in those 30 games before tonight. Can Andre Onana silence some of those boo boys by keeping the clean sheet tonight? Here he is, kicking the ball away. Right-footed up towards the halfway line, but Tolisso jumps and wins the header, but he's given it straight to Harry Maguire, and then Casemiro takes it off the England central defender, but not a good ball from Casemiro, and the ball is played by Maitland-Niles off the shins of Dorgu, and that goes out for a throw-in on the far side. It's the opening day of the Masters. You can listen to commentary over on 5 Live Sports Extra here on 5 Live. Kat Downs is going to bring us up to date with how the leaderboard is looking now. Kat.
Justin Rose leads the Masters by 2-shot birdie the first 3 holes, and then the 8th, the 9th and the 10th to move to 6 under par. 2 players tucked in a couple of shots behind him. Another Englishman, Tyrrell Hatton, on 4 under, alongside the defending champion, the world number 1, Scotty Scheffler, and Rory McIlroy at 1 under par is just about getting his back 9 towards the close, but we're keeping a close eye on him, of course, as he tries to chase down Justin Rose at the top of the leaderboard at 6 under par.
Thanks very much, Kat. We will keep you up to date with all events at Augusta here on 5 Live. Coverage across 5 Live on Sports Extra and the BBC Sport website right the way through to the last day of that competition on Sunday. Lenny Yolo here in Lyon has possession for Manchester United. 0-0 in this Europa League quarter-final first leg. The last chance saloon for Manchester United to win a trophy this campaign. Perhaps even more valuable than the silverware, a route into the Champions League next year. If you win the Europa League, you get into the Champions League, and frankly Manchester United aren't going to do that through the Premier League position, so this is their opportunity, and what a difference it could make. The finances for next season, the players they might be able to recruit. Tonight could be one of those nights that really sets an agenda as to how difficult Ruben Amorim's first full season in charge is going to be next campaign. 0-0 though for the moment. Manchester United or Lyon yet to produce a proper shot on target in this game.
Yeah, there's a big gap. Manchester United have gone high press here. Lyon are really comfortable on the ball building. They've got a really nice little structure to retain.
Good from Garnacho there to win possession, and then Ugarte's flick picks out Diogo Dalot, sent in a low cross on the right hand side. Bruno Fernandes let it run onto his feet, but Virtu knew what he was going to do there, and Jordan Virtu was able to clear the ball away. It's a good idea from Bruno Fernandes. It's one of those, if it works, it's brilliant, but when it doesn't work, it looks like, could you have done a little bit better there? Dalot to the line down the right-hand side. Garnacho pulls it back. Bruno Fernandes shot deflects out for a corner. Now that was hit well. He put the laces through it, Bruno Fernandes, but it clipped off a defender. That's the best we've seen from the visitors so far, and Bruno Fernandes gets a corner for his team.
Yeah, it's a perfect ball in from Garnacho. A beautiful weight. The cutback is absolutely beautiful in terms of an invitation for Bruno Fernandes to smack it first time. He's unlucky.
Booze as Bruno Fernandes waits to take the corner. Right-hand side as Manchester United come forward. Floats it in high. Harry Maguire jumps, but it's too high for him. Dorgu is going to sprint out to try and keep it in play on the left-hand side, and he's done well to get to the ball ahead of Ainsley Maitland-Niles. Dorgu sets it back in. Not a bad return at all. And then an attempted bicycle kick was on target from Casemiro, but saved by the goalkeeper Lucas Perry. That was a proper bit of Brazilian flair from Casemiro, who nearly turned back the year spectacularly there.
Yeah, you wouldn't put it past him at all, would you? Beautiful bit of improvisation from Casemiro off the second phase on that corner, but just watching Maguire peeling off at the back post, that could be a problem for Lyon, because Harry Maguire, in my opinion, is one of the best at timing his runs when he arrives into the area to attack crosses. That could be a really effective tool for Manchester United.
Harry Maguire, who has scored 3 goals this season across all competitions. He has had 1 in the Europa League already. 0-0 here tonight in this competition. This is 5 Live from the BBC live in Lyon this evening. There's a game in League 2 tonight. Crewe against Cheltenham, and Cheltenham have taken the lead in that one midway through the first half. Crewe 0, Cheltenham 1 as Lyon get a free kick here. A foul on Nicolas Tagliafico, This is about 10 yards outside the penalty area, left-hand side. It's not a shooting position, but it's a good angle here to try and send in across, is it?
It's a really good kind of feature to what Leon are doing. They're getting Tagliafico, the left-back, really high, getting him involved. He's coming inside and he's going outside, making it quite unpredictable, which is exactly how to exploit this system that Manchester United are playing. And like you say, they're really good position on this free kick. An in-swinger with the right foot whipped into that box could cause some damage in here for Manchester United.
Everyone is back defending for the visitors. All Manchester United players in their dark navy outfits inside their own penalty area. As it's an in-swinger and it bounces away and Onana's blocked it and it's into the net. Direct from the free kick. Thiago Onana. Oh, I think Onana's going to be questioned here. It's difficult because the keeper can't commit. He knows any touch he'd have to change direction, but there was no touch and it just bounced in beyond him. There was not much pace on the ball as it went past the goalkeeper, and Manchester United are behind in Lyon in the Europa League quarter-final. Thiago Almada's goal. VAR are having a look at it, but for now it's Lyon 1, Manchester United 0.
Yeah, the delivery is exquisite in terms of the direction on the football, but also the pace on it as well. Cherki fakes to shoot, he doesn't. Almada attacks it, in-swings it with pace, it drops, it bounces, and Onana, he flaps at it. He really does. It bounces just in front of him and he's attempted to kind of parry it away, and it's gone into the back of the net beyond him.
It's probably one of the most difficult things that goalkeepers have to face, that. You know, there's a line being held by your defenders, there's that corridor of uncertainty, and the free kick is played in at that angle, that pace, bouncing in the, you know, had it bounced even a few inches in front or behind, it would have been a different, just the place he wouldn't have wanted, and yet should he do better?
He's got to judge it, he's got to hold back and watch the flight of the football as it arrives in. I mean, it's absolutely brilliant from Almada in terms of the trajectory on the football, the way it bounces in front of him, the pace on the ball, it almost tempts Onana in to think he can come and parry it.
Goal at Tottenham, Henry.
Why is that for Tottenham? Tottenham 1, Eintracht Frankfurt 1, and it's Pedro Porro with a little back heel at the near post from Madison's drag back. Lovely finish from the fullback. Spurs 1, Eintracht Frankfurt 1.
Very much a nice scene here in Lyon, where in the celebration they got a shirt of Yunus Nuamua, the player who picked up that season-ending knee injury on Saturday, and they held up his shirt to let him know his teammates are thinking of him tonight in their moment of breakthrough. Scoring the first goal of this quarter-final, reward for good early ambition and pressure from Lyon. They have taken the game to Manchester United in the early phases. They've had a little scare, the shot from Bruno Fernandes, the bicycle kick from Casemiro, but Andre Onana, who has been in the spotlight with the Lyon fans in the build-up to this, he was criticised by Nemanja Matic, forcefully criticised in the press conferences leading up to this game, and Onana has not covered himself in glory there with the goal that separates the teams. And if Manchester United are going to go through to the semi-final, they're going to do it the hard way now. They're going to have to come from behind. They have a free kick near the centre circle. Bruno Fernandes floats it into the box. Casemiro jumps, no clean touch, and out it goes for a goal kick. Goal kick to Lyon, who lead here by a goal to nil on 5 Live.
Yeah, the eruption of noise inside the stadium, and I was watching the ultras behind Onana's goal. Almada went off to celebrate down to the left of us into the bottom corner, and all the ultras were just pointing and throwing their arm gestures towards Onana because they think and they know. We're just seeing it on the big screen again. The bounce of the ball in front of him. Oh, he has to do better.
The more you see it, I guess the slow motion replays don't help him because it looks even easier, but that was not a good moment for Andre Onana. We are going to be hearing more about that in the Conference League tonight. Fiorentina have taken the lead in their game earlier on this evening. Chelsea won 3-0 away at Legia. Their Conference League quarter-final was an early kick-off. Here comes Cherki into the penalty area for Lyon. Onto his left foot, tries to shoot. Joris done well to block the angle to bring possession back outside the penalty area. And helped out here by Casemiro. They should get it away, mind you. They're making a bit of hard work of it. Dorgu slaloms away from one or two challenges, and he has lost the ball just outside his own penalty area. Needed to be more decisive there. Lyon get it back, and they've got wind in their sails at the moment. The French club, they're 1-0 up, and they're enjoying this, and they know they're making Manchester United uncomfortable. Tolisso in the midfield, up to Thiago Almada, the goal scorer, onto his right boot, shoots again, shot on target, but this one is saved by Onana. It didn't have the pace or the power to trouble him.
They're absolutely destroy Manchester United right now. They really are. They're finding little passes in and around Casemiro and Agate. Bruno Fernandes doesn't know whether to drop or get high up with Højlund. And Lyon are just absolutely dictating everything they're doing. They're looking really sharp and up for it. And Manchester United look a little bit rattled right now.
Earlier on in the Europa League quarterfinals, Bodo Glimt had a remarkable 2-0 win against Lazio in their first leg of their quarterfinal. Lyon have taken the lead here. What about Ibrox? Rangers against Athletic Bilbao. Amy Barber.
Rangers might be down to 10, but they are giving Athletic Bilbao a real game here. Cyril Dessers with an effort that just whistled past the post. And Aki Williams, he had an effort down the other end, well blocked out for a corner. It's a really good game. This is still Rangers 0, Athletic Bilbao 0.
Manchester United still making mistakes, giving away the ball. This is Cherki just outside the penalty area. Can't get a shot away, rolls it back to his captain. Corentin Tolisso, the former Bayern Munich player. Tackling a Fico, gives it back into the central position, Thiago Almada. And Lyon just passing it around here, frustrating Manchester United. The next 5-10 minutes are key here. Are Manchester United going to respond? You know, in Paris last night, Villa scored first, and they only held the lead for 4 minutes. Paris Saint-Germain were able to fight back and equalise. Can Manchester United do something like that here? As Diogo Dalot picks up a yellow card, he has committed a foul on Tagliafico. No need for a challenge like that on the halfway line. And Dalot now on a yellow card midway through this first half.
So stupid from Dalot. He slides in. He started the slide way beyond what he needed to do. You can just see what's going to evolve, and that's that he's going to catch Tagliafico late. And that yellow card now makes this really difficult for Dalot and also Manchester United, because Dalot's a big part of what they do offensively. How is he going to cope playing now on a yellow card?
Diogo Dalot, who was sent off in the FA Cup third round at Arsenal earlier on this season. There were a few players, Dalot isn't one of them, but a few players who have missed the second leg back at Old Trafford next Thursday if they were to receive a yellow card this evening. Casemiro is one of them. Ainsley Maitland-Niles for Lyon, Tolisso, Niakate. For the moment, Tagliafico continues to receive treatment down on the halfway line. And play will resume with a free kick to Lyon shortly. Reminder of what's coming up over the weekend on 5 Live. Of course, there is continued coverage of the Masters from Augusta. But on Saturday, our Premier League 3 o'clock commentary pick is Forest against Everton. And then at 5:30, we'll bring you full commentary from the Emirates. Arsenal against Brentford, Premier League tea time Saturday here on 5 Live. On Sunday, there's a choice of listening. 3 games at 2 o'clock on Sunday. We'll bring you Liverpool against West Ham here on 5 Live. You can listen to Chelsea against Ipswich on Sports Extra, and Wolves against Tottenham will be available online on the BBC Sport website, all building up to the big one at 4:30. St James's Park, Newcastle United against Manchester United. Play back underway here. Rasmus Højlund tried to attack, gets into the penalty area from a wide angle, gets a shot on target, but not much power, and a comfortable save from Perry. Is it?
I was praising Lyon's structure and build-up play, but that was really sloppy from their captain Tolisso. He just passed it straight to Højlund. He managed to have the space to break into, but again, Højlund arrives in the box, and the shot is tame. It doesn't trouble Perry in any way, shape or form.
Lucas Perry, who was on Crystal Palace's books a few years back, he never made a senior appearance for them, but back during Roy Hodgson's original spell in charge there, Lucas Perry was a goalkeeper at Palace. Here he is between the sticks for Lyon, who lead Manchester United by a goal to nil in this Europa League quarter-final. Casemiro inside the centre circle. Good first touch. Helps the ball on to Bruno Fernandes. 10 yards into the Lyon half. Immediately out to the left wing to Patrick Dorgu, who's now level with the edge of the penalty area. But he looked up to see who was inside him, and he took his eye off the ball, and Ainsley Maitland-Niles said, "Thank you very much," and Lyon regained possession. And now, with Manchester United having pushed bodies forward, there's chance of a counter-attack here, but Lyon have given it away themselves. Indecisive in the midfield. This is Garnacho. 10 yards outside the penalty area. Tackled by Tagliafico, who did really well to win it back for Lyon there. But there's a high turnover of possession at the moment as Manchester United get it back once again. Dalot to Garnacho, just outside the penalty area. Right-hand side.